Hey everyone, tonight we are going to step back in time, not just a few years, but over 1,000, into a world of shimmering silk, intricate poetry, and a burning, desperate desire to live forever. Imagine you're walking through a city like Chang'an, the capital of the Tang dynasty in China. The air is a thick soup of smells. Roasting chestnuts, exotic spices from the Silk Road, damp earth from the morning's rain, and the faint, ever-present scent of a million charcoal fires. Ornate, curved roofs rise above you, and scholars in flowing robes brush past you, their minds on philosophy and verse. It's an age of unparalleled elegance and cultural brilliance, but let's be honest, you probably wouldn't survive this for more than a week. The water would be a gamble, a minor infection could be a death sentence, and a single wrong word to the wrong official could see your head decorating a spike on the city wall. It was a beautiful, but brutal world. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. As always, I love seeing where you're all listening from. So feel free to post your city and the local time in the comments below. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your journey doesn't begin in a grand palace or on a bloody battlefield. It begins with an idea. A philosophy that permeates the very air you breathe. It's the Tao, the way. It's the belief that the entire universe is a single, flowing river of energy, a perfect self-balancing system of opposing forces, yin and yang, dark and light, feminine and masculine, stillness and action. To live a good life is to learn to swim with this current, not against it. To find harmony with the natural world, to be like water that flows around obstacles, to be like a tree that bends in the wind. And within this deep, profound philosophy lies a tantalizing, almost logical next step. If you can achieve perfect harmony with the Tao, if you can balance the energies within your own body so perfectly that they mirror the universe itself, then why should you ever have to die? Why would the river ever need to stop flowing? This is the dream that fuels your entire existence. The quest for immortality. It isn't a fringe belief held by a few crackpots in a remote cave. In the Tang dynasty, it is a mainstream, state-sponsored obsession. It is the era's equivalent of the space race, a massive undertaking consuming vast resources and the greatest minds of the generation. The ultimate prize isn't a flag on the moon. It's a seat among the Xian, the immortals. These are not just long-lived people. They are transcendent beings who have shed their coarse mortal forms to become creatures of pure energy and light. Legends say they dwell in jade palaces on mystical mountains, that they can fly on the backs of cranes and spend their endless days composing poetry with the gods. It's a pretty sweet retirement plan, and everyone from the poorest peasant to the emperor himself wants in on it. This is where you come in. You are an alchemist, a practitioner of Waidan, or external alchemy. You believe that the secret to immortality can be found not just through meditation, but by creating a physical substance, an elixir that can be ingested. A divine medicine that will rewrite the very rules of biology. You are a combination of a pharmacist, a chemist, a geologist, and a mystic. A quirky tidbit of your trade is the belief in a kind of cosmic food pyramid. You might believe that eating the flesh of a 1,000-year-old tortoise could grant you a fraction of its longevity, or that consuming powdered jade could make your own body as hard and incorruptible as the stone itself. It's an ancient version of the "you are what you eat" diet, just with a much more ambitious and frankly inedible menu. So you dedicate your life to this great work. You are driven by a genuine belief that you are on the cusp of the greatest medical breakthrough in human history. But you are not alone in this. The Emperor, the Son of Heaven, is the most powerful man in the world, and the one thing his power cannot conquer is his own mortality. It is a mainstream historical fact that the Tang emperors were some of the most enthusiastic and lavish patrons of Taoist alchemy. They poured fortunes into funding expeditions to find rare ingredients, and supported alchemists like you in their dangerous, often explosive, experiments. Historians still argue whether this imperial obsession was born from a genuine, terrified belief in the promise of eternal life, or if it was a sophisticated form of political theater, a way for the emperor to project an image of divine favor and godlike permanence to solidify his rule. But for you, on the ground, The reason doesn't matter. The emperor's fear is your funding. His desperation is your research grant. And he is a very, very motivated investor. The pressure is immense. You are not just trying to cure a disease, you are trying to cure the human condition itself. And you believe with all your heart that the answer is out there, waiting to be mixed, heated, and purified in your crucible. The path you walk is not entirely your own. You feel a pressure, a silent, insistent weight on your shoulders that has nothing to do with the pack you carry or the miles ahead. It's the weight of an imperial decree, the heavy gravity of a single man's desperate wish. While the common folk of the Tang dynasty might dream of a good harvest or a healthy family, the man who sits on the dragon throne, the son of heaven himself, dreams of something far more audacious. He dreams of not dying. And when an emperor dreams, the whole world is expected to help make it a reality. You are part of that reality-bending machine, a cog in the grand apparatus of imperial desire. The emperor doesn't just support your work. His very mortality depends on it. This isn't a grant application you can fudge. The final report is graded on a simple pass-fail metric of eternal life. No pressure. This obsession flows directly from the top. Consider Emperor Xuanzong, the brilliant emperor, under whose reign the Tang dynasty reached its cultural and political zenith. For decades, he presided over a golden age of poetry, art, and stability. But as the years mounted, as the reflection in the polished bronze mirror showed silver threads in his beard and crow's feet deepening around his eyes, the brilliant emperor began to fear the one thing his power could not command: time. The man who held sway over millions of lives grew increasingly terrified of losing his own. And so, he turned to you. Not you personally, of course, but to your kind. To the Taoist masters and alchemical practitioners who spoke of elixirs, of transmuting base materials into life-giving gold, of the Xian, the immortals who lived in jade palaces on mystical mountains. He didn't just invite them to court, he enshrined them in it. You can almost feel the tension within the palace walls. It's a place of breathtaking beauty, of carved wooden screens and shimmering silk robes, the air thick with the scent of expensive incense and intrigue. But beneath it all is the quiet, frantic hum of the emperor's fear. He pours staggering sums of money, resources from the farthest corners of the empire, into the hands of men who promise him a few more years, another decade, another century. Expeditions are sent on quests for ingredients that sound more like poetry than pharmacy. Thousand-year-old ginseng from the mountains of Korea, pearl powder from the deepest southern seas, and mythical fungi said to sprout only where a dragon has slept. The Imperial Procurement Office must have had the most interesting inventory list in history. Item Ymwer 347, 1 pound of powdered unicorn horn. Please specify grade. The patronage is a double-edged sword. On one hand, you have access to materials and facilities you could never dream of acquiring on your own. Rare minerals, exotic herbs, furnaces built to precise specifications, all provided by the imperial household. On the other hand, the timeline is aggressive. The emperor is not a patient man, especially when it comes to his own decay. His generosity is directly proportional to his hope, and his wrath is directly proportional to his disappointment. Every failed concoction, every elixir that results in nothing more than a bad stomachache, or worse, brings you one step closer to ruin. You can imagine the performance reviews are brutal. A modern boss might put you on a warning. The brilliant emperor's warning was often followed by the chilling whisper of an executioner sharpening his sword. This imperial obsession fueled a kind of alchemical arms race. Alchemists competed for the emperor's favor, each claiming their process was the one true path to the Jade Emperor's court. Historians still argue whether these emperors were true believers in eternal life, or simply using Taoist alchemy as a political tool to project an image of divine longevity and power. Perhaps it was a bit of both. By publicly pursuing immortality, the emperor aligned himself with divine forces, suggesting that his rule was so essential to the cosmic order that even heaven wanted it to continue forever. It was the ultimate political flex. But in the quiet hours of the night when it was just the man and his mirror, the belief was likely very, very real. The fear was real. The desperation that funded your entire enterprise was profoundly, terrifyingly real. It's this desperation that allows for the risky experiments, the blending of substances that common sense would tell you to keep very, very far apart. Rules are bent. Ancient texts are reinterpreted. The search for a gentle elixir of life that would harmonize the body's energies is slowly giving way to a more aggressive, more volatile approach. Maybe immortality wasn't about balance. Maybe it needed to be seized, forged in fire, created through a violent reaction that would shock the mortal body into a state of divine permanence. This line of thinking is dangerous, but it's seductive, especially when your patron is tapping his foot and checking his sundial. You aren't just a scholar or a mystic anymore. You are a contractor for the most demanding client in the world, working on a project with a deadline that is, quite literally, deadly. And so you leave the whispers and the silks of the capital behind, your saddlebags filled with strange and precious things, heading for a place where you can work without the emperor's shadow falling directly over your shoulder. A place where you can finally begin to mix, to burn, to purify. A place where you can make a mistake. Your journey ends not at a grand palace, but at a humble, anonymous-looking gate set into a high stone wall, half swallowed by overgrown vines. This is the place. Far from the capital's prying eyes and incessant demands, this secluded compound, perhaps an abandoned auxiliary building of a remote Taoist temple, is your sanctuary and your crucible. You slide a heavy wooden bolt and the door groans open, complaining after a long silence. You slip inside, bolting it securely behind you. For a moment, you just stand there, letting your eyes adjust to the gloom, breathing in the unique perfume of your life's work. It's a dense, layered scent, the sharp tang of mineral acids, the earthy smell of dried herbs, the lingering ghost of charcoal smoke, and the faint, dusty sweetness of ancient paper. It is the kind of smell that would have a modern health and safety inspector developing a nervous tic. To you, it smells like possibility. A single paper lantern casts a warm, flickering glow, making the shadows in the corners dance like shy spirits. This is your workshop, your laboratory, your entire world condensed into one large, stone-floored room. The walls are stained dark with the soot of 1,000 past experiments, a testament to both your diligence and your occasional, shall we say, rapid successes in combustion. This is a place built for function, not comfort. There is a simple sleeping mat in one corner and a low table for meals, but the heart of the room, its soul, is the furnace. It's a squat earthen kiln, the Zao, its belly still holding a faint warmth from your last session. Beside it, a set of bellows made of wood and tough leather rests like a sleeping animal, ready to breathe life back into the embers. The concept of a fume hood is still about 1,000 years away, so the primary safety feature is hoping for a strong breeze through the two small high windows. You move towards the main workbench, a massive slab of slate worn smooth in places from centuries of grinding, mixing, and measuring. It's a landscape of organized chaos. Here lies the toolkit of your esoteric trade. Heavy bronze mortars and pestles of varying sizes sit ready to pulverize rock and root. A collection of ceramic crucibles, some pristine, others bearing the cracks and scorches of intense heat, are stacked neatly. You run a hand over a curious-looking tower of stacked ceramic pots. Your aludel, a clever device for sublimation, for coaxing the spirit of a substance to ascend as vapor and solidify again in a purer form. It's a slow, patient process, watching the vapors rise, condense, and form crystalline flowers on the cool upper surfaces. It's as close as you get to witnessing a physical resurrection. But the real treasure is not the equipment, it's the library. Against one wall, a series of wooden shelves hold your collection of texts. These are not simple instruction manuals. You pull down a heavy bamboo scroll, its ties brittle with age. This is the Cantongchi, the seal of the unity of the three, one of the foundational texts of your art. You unroll it carefully, the bamboo slats clacking softly. The text is not straightforward. It speaks not in measures of weight and volume, but in allegory and metaphor. To create an elixir, you must tame the white tiger and marry the azure dragon. You are told to seek the yellow sprout and to harmonize the energies of the sun and moon within your furnace. This is a deliberately cryptic language. It's less of a lab manual and more like trying to assemble IKEA furniture using only a book of existential poetry. Scholars still debate just how much of this secrecy was to guard proprietary knowledge from rivals. versus how much was a genuine belief that the sacred process of creation could not and should not be described in plain, clumsy language. The shelves also hold countless jars, leather pouches, and wooden boxes, each meticulously labeled with elegant calligraphy. These are your ingredients, the physical words that will form the sentences of your elixirs. Some are familiar: cinnamon bark, ginseng root, dried ginger. Others are far more exotic. Cinnabar, the vibrant red ore of mercury, sits in a heavy clay pot, its color seeming to pulse with a dangerous inner life. Lumps of yellow, foul-smelling sulfur known as brimstone are kept in a sealed container. There are bags of arsenic powders, both the red realgar and the yellow orpiment, substances known as much for their use in poisons as in medicine. You are walking a fine line, and the contents of this room could just as easily be used to end a life as to extend one. It is a pharmacy of cosmic proportions and also a potential bomb-making kit. You just don't know it yet. For now, you light the furnace, the embers catching with a soft whoosh. The shadows recede, the workshop awakens, and you are ready to begin the delicate, dangerous dance of creation. The fire in the zao is now a steady, hungry presence, casting a warm orange light that makes the rows of jars and pouches on your shelves seem to breathe. You turn to your workbench, the heart of your material kingdom. This is where you will select the words for your next fiery sentence, the ingredients for your next attempt at cheating death. You reach for a heavy, squat clay pot, the one sealed with a thick plug of beeswax. Its weight is surprising, far heavier than its size suggests. This is cinnabar, the dragon's blood, the mineral that holds the key to so many of your theories. You pry the lid off. Inside, a powder of the most impossibly vibrant vermilion red lies still and silent. It's the color of celebration, of good fortune, of the ink used to sign imperial edicts. To the uninitiated, it's a beautiful pigment. To you, it is the earthly cage of mercury, a substance that promises transformation. Mercury, or quicksilver, is the soul of your work. You've seen it before, having carefully roasted the cinnabar ore to release the liquid metal trapped within. You remember the first time you saw it, a small pool of silver that refused to be still, that broke apart into 100 tiny, perfect spheres at your touch, only to flow back together as one, impossibly alive. It was a metal, yet it was liquid. It was from the earth, yet it seemed to behave like something from the heavens. It was the ultimate paradox. And in paradox, you believe, lies power. The theory is that by ingesting this mercurial spirit, one can make their own body fluid, adaptable, and immortal, like the metal itself. This is a mainstream historical fact. Countless alchemists and, tragically, emperors consumed mercury-based elixirs. The result was not eternal life, but nerve damage, organ failure, and madness. A slow, agonizing death that was the exact opposite of the intended goal. You, however, operate on the faith that your purification process, your secret formula, will neutralize its earthly poison and unlock only its divine potential. Beside the cinnabar sits a smaller, lighter box. You slide the lid open, and inside are two distinct powders, separated by a thin wooden divider. On one side is realgar, a fiery orange-red mineral. On the other, orpiment, a brilliant, almost fluorescent yellow. They are beautiful like solidified sunset. They are also arsenic. You know them as potent medicines when used in tiny, carefully controlled doses, capable of treating skin ailments and parasites. You also know them as spectacularly efficient poisons. The line between medicine and poison is not a line at all, it's a dosage. And the dosage for an immortality elixir? Well, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? It is a cosmic joke that so many of the substances believed to hold the secrets to eternal life are, in fact, listed in nature's encyclopedia under things that will absolutely kill you. But your pharmacy contains more than just deadly minerals. You move past the jars of lead, which you believe can absorb the chaotic energies of other metals, to the organic section of your collection. Here things get even stranger. There's a pouch containing powdered human placenta believed to be a potent source of qi, or life essence, a direct link to the creative forces of birth. There's a small, dark, sticky brick that you know to be mellified man, a bizarre and likely legendary confection made by having a holy man subsist on nothing but honey until his death, after which his body would be steeped in honey for a century. The resulting substance was said to cure anything. You have not been able to source any yourself. Turns out volunteers for the first step are surprisingly hard to come by. But you have a small sample acquired from a trader who swore it was the real deal. It smells sweet and vaguely unsettling. Historians still argue whether alchemists understood the full toxic nature of substances like mercury and arsenic, or if they believed the spiritual purification process would neutralize the physical poison. The prevailing theory you work under is the latter. You don't see it as you, a mortal, mixing chemicals. You see yourself as a facilitator, creating the perfect conditions in your furnace womb for these substances to shed their coarse physical forms and reveal their true, celestial nature. The poison is part of the physical shell, and through fire and sublimation that shell is discarded, leaving only the pure, life-giving essence behind. It's a beautiful theory. It's elegant, spiritually profound, and, unfortunately, completely wrong. But you don't have the benefit of modern toxicology reports. You have ancient texts that speak in riddles and your own hard-won, often explosive experience. Your gaze finally settles on two large, far less glamorous containers at the end of the bench. One is a rough burlap sack filled with lumpy yellow chunks that give off a faint, acrid smell like rotten eggs. It's sulfur, brimstone, a substance you associate with the fiery, masculine energy of yang. It burns with a distinctive blue flame and a choking gas, a powerful and volatile material. You see it not just as a chemical, but as the very essence of fire made solid. Next to it is a wooden keg. You lift the lid and look inside at a mass of fine, white, crystalline powder. It looks like salt or sugar. It's cool to the touch and has a faint, sharp smell. This is saltpeter, a substance painstakingly refined from soil scraped from barn floors and cave walls. It is associated with the cooling, feminine energy of yin. These two, sulfur and saltpeter, are common enough. You use them in various purifying mixtures and medicinal compounds. They are potent, but they are familiar. They are part of the alchemical alphabet you know so well. You have no idea that you are about to use them to write a word that no one has ever read before. A word that will echo through the ages with the sound of a thunderclap. For now, you just see two ingredients among many, two opposing forces waiting to be balanced. You don't see the jars of sulfur and saltpeter on your workbench as a collection of inert chemicals. To you, that's a tragically limited, almost childish way of looking at the world. Forget the neat rows of a periodic table you might have learned in another life. Your understanding of the universe is far more fluid, more alive. Everything that exists, from the grandest star to the smallest grain of rice, from the emperor's moods to the flow of blood in your own veins, is governed by a dynamic, elegant dance. This is the theory of the 5 elements, or wuxing. It is the grand operating system of the cosmos, and your alchemical work is simply learning how to write code for it. It's not just a theory. It is the fundamental truth, the lens through which you perceive all of reality. The 5 elements aren't static substances like the earth, air, fire, and water of the Greek philosophers. They are phases, processes, ever-shifting states of being. There is wood, mu, the energy of growth, of springtime, of upward flexible movement. There is fire, ho, the energy of expansion, of summer, of heat, light, and transformation. There is earth, tu, the energy of stability, of nourishment, of grounding and centering. There is metal, jin, the energy of contraction, of autumn, of structure, purity, and cutting precision. And finally, there is water, shui, the energy of stillness, of winter, of conservation, and of downward flow. Everything, and you mean everything, can be classified within this system. Your own liver is an organ of the wood phase. Your heart belongs to fire. The sour taste is wood, bitterness is fire. This is the unified theory of everything from medicine to politics to cooking. These 5 phases are not independent. They are locked in 2 fundamental cycles that dictate the entire rhythm of the universe. The first is the cycle of generation, sheng, the cosmic story of mothers and children. It's a beautiful, nurturing loop. Wood provides the fuel that feeds fire. Fire burns, leaving behind ash, which creates earth. Earth, deep within its crust, bears and condenses metal. Metal, when cool, collects dew upon its surface, thereby carrying water. And water, of course, nourishes the growth of wood. It's a perfect, self-perpetuating cycle of creation. This is the cycle you strive to replicate in your elixirs, a harmonious, life-giving process that generates vitality rather than consuming it. You want to create a perfect microcosm of this cosmic engine inside a tiny crucible. But the universe requires checks and balances. For every creator, there must be a controller. This is the second loop, the cycle of control or overcoming. K. Think of it as a cosmic game of rock, paper, scissors that keeps any one element from becoming too powerful. Wood, with its roots, can part and contain earth. Earth can dam and absorb water. Water naturally can quench fire. Fire is strong enough to melt and forge metal. And a metal axe, in turn, can chop down wood. This cycle is not evil. It is necessary. It is the cycle of regulation, of discipline. In your work, it is how you tame volatile substances. By introducing the controlling element, you can suppress an unwanted reaction, guide the flow of energy, and maintain a fragile, powerful equilibrium within your furnace. Ignoring this cycle is like trying to tame a tiger by tickling its nose. A very brief and very bad idea. This is the intellectual map you use to navigate the dangerous landscape of your ingredients. You look at the lumpy yellow sulfur. It burns with a hot blue flame and a choking stench. It is aggressive, expansive, and undeniably masculine in its energy. It is the very essence of fire. Then you look at the fine white powder of saltpeter. It is cool to the touch, refined from the earth, and known in medicine for its cooling properties. It represents the energy of water, or perhaps a mix of water and earth, the ultimate yin to sulfur's yang. Now you consider the third ingredient you'll need, a source of pure carbon. For that, you turn to a basket of carefully prepared charcoal, made from burning bamboo in an airtight container until all the impurities are gone. Charcoal is black. It comes from a plant. It is the fuel. It is the wood element. You see it now, the equation taking shape on your workbench. You are not merely mixing three powders. You are proposing a conversation between wood, fire, and water. According to the generative cycle, wood feeds fire. Excellent. But according to the control cycle, water quenches fire. This is the problem. This is the cosmic conflict you intend to orchestrate. How can you combine these three so that the water element, saltpeter, doesn't it simply extinguish the fire element, sulfur? What if, in the right proportions, they don't fight? What if the water and fire, mediated by the wood, are forced to overcome their natural opposition and merge into something entirely new? Historians still debate whether these alchemists viewed the wuxing cycles as literal, predictable chemical pathways or as broader spiritual metaphors for achieving a state of cosmic harmony within the crucible. For you, sitting in the flickering lantern light, the distinction is meaningless. It is both. To achieve the correct spiritual state, you must use the correct physical path. The goal is to find the perfect ratio, the divine balance point where destruction is subverted into creation. You are trying to find a loophole in the laws of the universe. Your attention now narrows, focusing on one of the three chosen components laid out on the slate workbench. You reach into the rough burlap sack, your fingers closing around a lumpy, surprisingly light chunk of mineral. You bring it closer to the lantern light. It's a pale, buttery yellow, a color that seems both sickly and vibrant at the same time, like a flower that blooms only in the underworld. This is sulfur, brimstone, Shilu Huang. You don't need to bring it very close to your nose to catch its signature scent, that faint but unmistakable odor of rotten eggs. It's not a pleasant smell, but to you, it is the smell of power. It is the raw, untamed breath of the earth's inner fire, the very essence of the yang principle made solid. If your alchemical formula were a sentence, this substance would be the verb, the action word, the explosive command. In the grand cosmic scheme of the five elements you hold so dear, sulfur is fire incarnate. It doesn't just support fire or feed it in the way wood does. It is fire, trapped in a crystalline cage. You've seen what happens when you heat it. It melts into a blood-red liquid before finally igniting with a ghostly blue flame. releasing a choking, acrid smoke that stings the eyes and claws at the back of the throat. This is not the gentle, life-giving warmth of a cooking hearth. This is a fierce, aggressive, transformative fire. It is pure masculine energy, active, expansive, and utterly dominant. Handling it feels like you're holding a sleeping tiger by the tail. You know that with the slightest provocation, it could awaken with furious, unpredictable power. This inherent danger is precisely what makes it so valuable to your work. You are not trying to brew a calming tea. You are trying to storm the gates of heaven, and you need a battering ram. Of course, this fiery substance has its more mundane uses. It's a mainstream historical fact that sulfur was a well-known component in traditional Chinese medicine, a potent tool for purification. Ground into a fine powder and mixed with mercury or other minerals, it was a powerful ointment used to treat all manner of unpleasant skin conditions, from scabies to eczema. It was believed to drive out the damp heat that caused such afflictions, cauterizing the problem at its source. There is a beautiful symmetry to it that you appreciate. The same substance that could purify the spirit was also used to purify the skin. It's like the universe's most aggressive exfoliant, guaranteed to get rid of both dead skin and any minor demons that happen to be clinging to your aura. This idea of purification extends deep into the spiritual realm. This is the quirky little secret of sulfur. It's not just medicine, it's ghost repellent. The pungent smoke it produces when burned was widely believed to be intolerable to evil spirits, malevolent ghosts, and other assorted supernatural pests. Before a sacred ritual, a priest might burn a small amount of sulfur to cleanse the space, ensuring no negative influences could interfere. If a house was thought to be haunted, a good fumigation with brimstone was a common prescription. It was the ultimate spiritual insecticide. Forget a welcome mat. A little pile of sulfur on the doorstep sent a very clear message to any wandering spirits. You are not welcome here, and if you try to enter, it's going to get very smelly and unpleasant. You place the chunk of sulfur into a heavy bronze mortar. As you begin to grind it with the pestle, the friction releases its scent more fully, filling the air with that distinct sulfuric tang. The rhythmic crunch and scrape is a familiar meditation. Historians still argue whether the alchemists' deep reverence for sulfurous yang nature was a purely philosophical construct, or if they genuinely believed it contained a literal physical piece of the sun's fiery essence trapped underground during the world's creation. As you watch the coarse lumps break down into a fine, bright yellow dust, you feel it's the latter. You are not just grinding a rock. You are liberating a primal force. You are turning the key in the lock of a cage that has held a sliver of the sun for millennia. With each turn of the pestle, you are preparing the fire element to meet its counterparts. The goal is not just to mix, but to refine. The finer the powder, the more intimately it can combine with the saltpeter and charcoal, the more complete the reaction will be. You imagine the tiny particles of sulfur, each one a microscopic ember, waiting for the right conditions to burst into flame. It is the active ingredient, the catalyst, the instigator in the chemical drama you are about to stage. Without it, the other ingredients are just a pile of unremarkable dust. With it, they become a promise of transformation, a promise of a sudden, violent release of energy that, you pray, will mimic the very spark of creation and bestow the gift of endless life. For now, it's just a pile of yellow powder, sitting innocently on your workbench, but you know its true nature. It is sleeping fire waiting for a reason to wake up. Having reduced the fiery yang of the sulfur to a fine, expectant dust, you now turn your attention to its cosmic opposite. Your hand moves from the burlap sack to the smooth, cool wood of a small keg. You lift the heavy lid. Inside, a mound of fine, white crystalline powder glows softly in the lantern light, looking as innocent as freshly fallen snow. This is saltpeter, or xiaoxi, which literally translates to neater stone. It has none of the visual drama of the cinnabar or the olfactory aggression of the sulfur. It looks like common salt. It feels cool and dry to the touch. It is the quiet, unassuming guest at this very strange party of ingredients. But you know better. This is the yin to the sulfur's yang, the water to its fire. This is the cooling touch, the calming hand that you believe will temper the furious energy of the brimstone into something stable, something eternal. The story of this substance is far less dramatic than that of a mineral mined from deep within a mountain. Its origins are humble, even a little sordid. You can't just dig up a vein of pure saltpeter. You have to nurture it, to collect it. It is a product of decay and transformation, a quiet miracle of natural chemistry. The process is patient and foul. You must find places where earth has been enriched with the waste products of life. A damp cave floor where bats have roosted for centuries. The soil beneath a stable where the urine of animals has seeped into the ground. Or even the earthen floors of old houses. This soil, rich in nitrogen from decomposing organic matter, is the raw material. It is a quirky and rather unglamorous tidbit of your trade. One of the key ingredients for immortality is literally scraped off the floor of a bat toilet. Nature, you've learned, has a wonderfully ironic sense of humor. You've performed the refinement yourself countless times. You take sacks of this enriched earth and dump them into large vats of water, stirring until the precious saltpeter dissolves. Then you filter the muddy water through layers of cloth and ash, a slow process that removes the dirt and grime, leaving a clearer, though still brownish liquid. The final step is the most magical. You gently heat this liquid in wide, shallow pans, allowing the water to slowly evaporate. As it does, the saltpeter has nowhere to go. It reappears, crashing out of the solution to form a delicate lattice of fine, white, needle-like crystals on the bottom and sides of the pan. It's a process of purification that feels profoundly alchemical. From the dirt, the decay, and the darkness, you coax forth this pure, white, crystalline substance. You are, in a very real sense, harvesting the ghost of decomposed life. This cooling, calming nature isn't just a philosophical idea. It's a mainstream historical fact that saltpeter was a staple of the Tang Dynasty medicine cabinet. Physicians prescribed it for ailments believed to be caused by an excess of heat in the body. It was used to treat fevers, urinary tract infections, and sore throats. A small amount dissolved in water was seen as a way to internally cool the body's systems, restoring the proper balance of yin and yang. It was the ancient equivalent of being told to take an aspirin and drink plenty of fluids. Of course, you're not planning on making a simple fever remedy. You are taking this principle of cooling to its absolute extreme, hoping it can cool the very fires of mortality itself. You scoop a measure of the fine white powder into a ceramic bowl. You know its other properties too. You know that if you sprinkle a tiny amount onto a glowing charcoal ember, the ember doesn't fizzle out as it would with water. Instead, it flares up with a brilliant, silent, violet-white light, burning hotter and faster, consuming itself in a flash. This is the paradox of saltpeter, the source of its secret power. It is a yin substance, cool and watery in nature, yet it possesses the incredible ability to intensify fire, to make it burn with a ferocity it could never achieve on its own. Historians still argue whether the alchemists perceived this power as a magical ability, a spiritual breathing out of celestial energy, or if they had a more practical, albeit pre-scientific understanding of it as a unique, air-supplying salt. For you, the explanation is simple. The supreme yin, in its ultimate purity, can wrap around the yang and amplify it. Just as the darkest night makes the stars seem brighter, it doesn't extinguish the fire. It focuses it, purifies it, elevates it from an earthly flame to a heavenly one. This is the tightrope you are walking. You are bringing together two powerful opposing forces. The sulfur is the hot, aggressive, expansive energy. The saltpeter is the cool, passive, and intensifying energy. One wants to explode outwards. The other wants to focus inwards. If you get the proportions wrong, one will simply dominate the other. Too much sulfur, and you'll get a foul, smoky fire. Too much saltpeter, and the reaction will be listless and weak. But if you find the perfect balance point, the axis mundi where yin and yang meet in perfect violent harmony, what then? What new state of being will be born from that union? You don't know. But as you look at the innocent-looking pile of Chinese snow, you feel a thrill of both terror and anticipation. You're about to ask two gods to dance, and you just have to hope they don't burn the whole temple down. You look down at the 3 piles of dust on your slate workbench, the fiery yellow of the sulfur, the cool white of the saltpeter, and the deep, absorbent black of the charcoal. The 5 elements theory gives you the grammar, the cosmic rules for how they should interact. But how did you know to choose these specific words in the first place? Out of all the minerals and plants in the world, why these? The answer lies in another layer of your understanding, a belief so intuitive and ancient, it feels less like a theory and more like common sense. You believe the universe is not a silent, inscrutable place. It speaks. It leaves clues. You just have to know how to read the labels. This is the doctrine of signatures. It's a beautifully simple idea. The outer appearance of a substance, its signature, reveals its inner nature, its hidden purpose. A plant, an animal, or a mineral will resemble the thing it is meant to heal or influence. It's as if the gods, in their infinite wisdom, created a world full of remedies, and then in a moment of kindness, decided to color-code the whole system for the benefit of humanity. You see a plant with a leaf shaped like a human lung. Of course, it's for treating coughs. A stone with swirling patterns that look like a tormented gut. A clear remedy for stomach aches. It's the universe's own built-in instruction manual, written in a language of shape and color. You don't need complex texts. You just need to open your eyes and see the resemblances. It is a mainstream historical fact that this doctrine was a cornerstone of medicine and natural philosophy for centuries, not just in China, but across the world. From this perspective, your choice of ingredients feels not just logical, but divinely ordained. You look at the cinnabar you worked with earlier, the source of mercury. Its color is the most obvious signature of all. A deep, vibrant, arterial red. It is the color of blood. And what is blood if not the very river of life, the carrier of vitality and qi? Therefore, cinnabar is not just a rock, it is the petrified blood of the earth itself. To consume it, in a purified form, is to transfuse your own aging, weakening life force with the planet's eternal, inexhaustible vitality. It's a beautiful, poetic, and fatally flawed piece of logic. You think of the shiny, living quicksilver trapped within it. It flows, it merges, it is eternal. Its signature is immortality. By consuming the spirit of the cinnabar, you hope to make your own spirit as fluid and deathless as the mercury it contains. Then there is the sulfur. Its signature is twofold. First, its color, a brilliant, sun-like yellow. In the Tang dynasty, yellow is the imperial color, the color of the center, the earth element in its most stable form. More importantly, it is the color of the sun, the ultimate source of yang energy. Second, its nature, it burns. It is the only stone that truly carries its own fire within it. So its signature is clear. It is a vessel of pure, solar, masculine power. By adding it to your elixir, you are adding a fragment of the sun's own essence, a dose of celestial fire intended to burn away the mortal dross of your body. It's not a subtle approach, it's cosmic chemotherapy. This doctrine is everywhere you look. Consider the ginseng root, one of the most prized ingredients in any Taoist apothecary. Why is it so revered? Because a mature ginseng root often takes on the unmistakable shape of a tiny human being, complete with a torso, arms, and legs. This is the quirky tidbit, the ultimate signature. Its name in Chinese, Rencan, literally means man root. Because it resembles the whole human form, it's not considered a specific remedy for a single ailment, but a holistic tonic for the entire body. A way to replenish the fundamental life energy from head to toe. It's a starchy little man doing yoga, and eating it is supposed to give you his harmonious energy. Historians still argue whether the doctrine of signatures was interpreted as a literal truth, that a walnut is a tiny brain and therefore good for the head, or as a more sophisticated divine mnemonic system, a way for the heavens to help mortals categorize and remember the vast pharmacopoeia of the natural world. Was it mysticism or was it a form of proto-science, an attempt to classify the world based on observable, if superficial, characteristics? For you, the distinction is academic. It works. The clues are real. The universe is a grand, open book, and these substances on your bench are the letters that spell out the word immortality. This belief gives you a profound sense of confidence. You're not fumbling in the dark. You are a detective, following a trail of clues left by the Creator. You are reading the recipe off the side of the box. And with this divine certainty warming you even more than the furnace, you finally reach out to begin combining the 3 purified powders. You are ready to make the universe speak. With the divine logic of the doctrine of signatures as your guide, your hands finally begin to move with purpose. You are no longer just a theorist, you are a craftsman. You take a wide, shallow ceramic bowl, its surface glazed to a smooth, dark green. First, you pour in the fine white powder of the saltpeter, the cooling yin. Then over it you sift the bright yellow dust of the sulfur, the fiery yang. And finally you add the charcoal, the neutral, woody medium that will hopefully serve as the crucible for their marriage. Using a spatula carved from a piece of smooth, dark wood, you begin to mix. The 3 distinct colors swirl together, the white and yellow yielding to the deep black of the carbon, until the bowl contains a uniform, unassuming dark gray powder. It looks like nothing special. It resembles simple dust, the kind of soot you might sweep from the bottom of your furnace. And as you stir, a cold shadow of doubt brushes against the back of your mind. It's the memory of other elixirs, other promises. It's the ghost of epic fails. This isn't your first attempt to create a life-giving substance. You and your predecessors have been at this for centuries, following the ancient recipes. The most revered of these were the mercury-based elixirs. The theory was so perfect, so elegant. Cinnabar, the blood of the earth, heated to release its spirit, the living metal, quicksilver. This spirit was then tamed, fixed, and combined with other potent ingredients before being shaped into small red pills. These were the pills of divine process, the golden elixirs. Taking one was meant to be the ultimate act of self-purification, a way to make the physical body as eternal and incorruptible as the mercury itself. The reality, as you know all too well, was somewhat different. The side effects, as it turns out, were a bit more severe than the may cause drowsiness warnings on modern medicines. You've heard the stories whispered in hushed, fearful tones. You remember the cautionary tale of Emperor Wuzong of the Tang. A devoted Taoist, he became obsessed with living forever. He brought the most renowned alchemists to court and gave them carte blanche. They prepared for him a potent elixir, likely loaded with mercury and other heavy metals. He began taking it with religious fervor, his wellness journey turning into a slow-motion catastrophe. First came the irritability, the uncharacteristic rages over minor slights. Then his skin took on a strange pallor, and his hands began to tremble. He grew paranoid, convinced his officials were plotting against him. His mind, once sharp enough to rule an empire, began to unravel. He died not as a radiant immortal, but as a pained, confused man, his body and mind ravaged by the very substance he believed would save him. This is a mainstream historical fact. The quest for immortality likely killed more Chinese emperors than assassins ever did. Historians still argue whether the court alchemists of that era were true believers, utterly baffled when their divine concoctions caused the son of heaven's teeth to loosen and fall out, or if they were the most stressed-out employees in history, knowingly handing poison to their boss because the only other option was immediate execution. Did they see the emperor's decline and think, strange, this isn't what the ancient texts described? Or did they think, I hope he dies before he figures out I'm the one feeding him this stuff? You shudder at the thought. The pressure to succeed is immense, but the consequences of a failure that looks too much like intentional poisoning are unthinkable. Your resume would look terrible. Expert alchemist, specialty, immortality elixirs. Note: last client died horribly, seeking new opportunities. And it wasn't just the mercury. The arsenic-based elixirs had their own brand of horror. The logic was similar. Arsenic minerals like realgar were associated with hardness and permanence. Ingesting their essence would make your own body diamond-like, impervious to the decay of time. The result was, predictably, a much faster trip to the ancestral plane. The quirky and terrifying little secret of this kind of poisoning was the state it left the body in. Victims were sometimes found with a ghastly fixed grin on their faces, the result of the poison locking their facial muscles into a permanent rictus. Imagine the scene. The alchemist presenting himself at court, announcing his success, only to have the eunuchs pull back the silk sheets to reveal an emperor with a frozen, mocking smile. The ultimate irony. You sought eternal life and ended up with a literally killer punchline. So you stare down at the dark gray powder in your bowl. This is different. This is a deviation from the grand tradition of metallic poisons. This is an elixir based on the interplay of the 5 elements in their more common forms: sulfur, saltpeter, charcoal. There is no blood-red cinnabar, no brilliant arsenic. This is a humble mixture, a peasant's elixir almost. The old ways have failed. They have led to madness, agony, and death. They have turned the quest for life into a grotesque parody. Perhaps the secret was never in the rare, the beautiful, and the deadly. Perhaps it was here all along, in these common substances. Perhaps transformation doesn't come from a brilliant poison, but from a quiet, dark dust. You finish mixing. The powder is uniform, its potential completely hidden. You have created a new question. Now you just have to heat it to get the answer. The dark gray powder sits in the bowl, a picture of anticlimax. It possesses none of the vibrant, hopeful color of cinnabar, none of the regal beauty of orpiment. It is simply dull. You stare at it, the initial confidence you felt from the doctrine of signatures beginning to seep away, replaced by a familiar, weary skepticism. You've followed the cosmic logic? You've balanced the elements, and the result is a bowl of dust that looks suspiciously like the stuff you should be sweeping out of your workshop, not carefully preparing within it. There's no signature of immortality here. The only thing it resembles is dirt. Is this really the path forward? Or is it another dead end? Another failed attempt that will produce nothing more than a puff of foul smoke and a deep sense of professional embarrassment? Before you commit this mixture to the fire, you hesitate. You need a second opinion. And the only consultants you have are the silent, patient masters whose words are captured on the scrolls lining your shelves. You turn from the workbench, wiping your dusty hands on your robes, and walk to your small library. You are not looking for the famous canonical texts this time. You've read the Baopuzi and the Cantong Chi so many times you could recite them in your sleep. Their grand theories on metallic elixirs are what led you down this path of disappointment in the first place. No, you are looking for something more obscure, a piece of marginalia, a footnote in the great work. You search for a text that deals not with the grand prize of immortality, but with the process itself, the practical, messy, and often dangerous business of mixing and heating. Your fingers trace the tied ends of several bamboo scrolls before settling on one. It's a lesser-known work, a compendium of alchemical recipes and warnings titled The Zhen Yuan Miao Dao Yalue, or Classified Essentials of the Mysterious Tao of the True Origin. It's less a work of profound philosophy and more of a practical manual, a collection of notes and observations from a fellow practitioner. You carry it back to your bench, unrolling it carefully under the lantern light. You scan the dense columns of characters looking for any mention of a formula that combines sulfur and a nitrate salt. You find several, most of which are for minor medicinal compounds. But then you see it. Tucked away in a section on purifying minerals, there is a passage that makes the hairs on your arm stand up. The text describes a formula. It contains sulfur, it contains saltpeter, and it contains a form of carbon. It is shockingly, unnervingly similar to the gray powder sitting right in front of you. But this is where the text takes a sharp, terrifying turn. This is not a recipe for an elixir, it is a warning. This is a mainstream historical fact. One of the earliest known written formulas for a gunpowder-like substance appears in this 9th century Taoist text, not as a weapon, but as a cautionary tale. The author explicitly warns future alchemists against this combination. He writes that if you mix these ingredients and apply heat, a violent reaction will occur. He describes how the mixture will fly and dance, a wonderfully poetic term for explode, how it will produce so much smoke and flame that it will burn the alchemist's hands and face, and that it has the power to burn down the house in which they are working. You read the passage again, and a third time. It's the ancient equivalent of a user manual that consists of a single, large, red button with a sign next to it that says, "For the love of all that is holy, do not push this button." The author's intention was to save his colleagues from accidentally blowing themselves up. He documented a failure, a dangerous dead end on the path to immortality, so that others would not have to repeat it. But as you look from the stark warning on the scroll to the inert powder in the bowl, a completely different idea begins to form in your mind. A thrilling, heretical, and incredibly dangerous idea. What if the flying and dancing wasn't the failure? What if the sudden violent release of light and energy was the point? Historians still argue whether the author of this text stumbled upon the reaction completely by accident and recorded it as a pure warning, or if there was a burgeoning school of thought among alchemists who were beginning to study the phenomenon of combustion for its own sake, separate from the quest for long life. Were they still trying to make medicine, or were they becoming the world's first pyrotechnicians? Looking at the powder, you feel you are standing right on the knife's edge of that very question. The old goal was to create a substance that would gently, harmoniously infuse your body with eternal life. But the text in front of you describes a substance that creates a miniature, instantaneous sun. What if immortality wasn't about gentle infusion, but about harnessing a moment of pure cosmic power? It has a quirky and telling insight into the alchemical mindset that a recipe for accidental explosives would be filed under Things to Know About Making Medicine. It reveals a world where the lines between chemistry, magic, medicine, and what we would now call industrial accidents were hopelessly, wonderfully blurred. You can almost picture the poor soul who discovered it. A man with significantly fewer eyebrows than when he started the day, frantically writing it all down so his friends wouldn't make the same mistake. "Dear diary," he might have written, "today, I invented a fantastic new way to set my beard on fire. It is not an elixir. I repeat, not an elixir." You roll the scroll shut, your mind racing. The book calls this substance huo yao, fire medicine, not longevity medicine, not immortality medicine, fire medicine. The name itself is a revelation. It reframes the entire experiment. The purpose of this substance isn't to be eaten. Its purpose is to burn. The warning wasn't a stop sign. It was a map. It was a treasure map where X marks the spot you are absolutely not supposed to dig, which of course only makes you want to dig there more. You have accidentally followed a recipe for disaster, and now you are going to see that disaster through, not by accident but on purpose. You are going to take this humble gray dust, this failed elixir, this documented catastrophe, and you are going to introduce it to the flame. The scroll lies rolled up on the bench, but its warning echoes in your mind. Burn the alchemist's hands and face. Burn down the house. Most sane people would take this as a clear sign to stop, to dump the gray powder into a bucket of water, and to perhaps take up a safer hobby like flower arranging or competitive napping. But you are an alchemist. The line between a stern warning and a tantalizing challenge has always been a bit blurry for you. The ancient masters saw a catastrophe, a failure. You, standing in the flickering lamplight of your workshop, have decided to see it as an invitation. You are going to light the fuse he warned you about, not to create life, but to witness a power he deemed too dangerous to pursue. First, a modicum of caution is in order. You are not an idiot. You're not going to pack this stuff into a sealed crucible and place it in the heart of your furnace. Your landlord, the abbot of the nearby monastery, is already a bit cross with you about the lingering smell of sulfur, and you suspect that accidentally leveling the west wing might violate a clause in your lease. You need to observe the reaction, not become a part of it. You find a heavy, flat ceramic dish, one you usually use for evaporating liquids, and place it in the middle of the stone floor, far from your precious scrolls and any flammable materials. With a small bronze spoon, you scoop out a single modest pile of the gray huoyao onto the dish. It sits there, a tiny dull pyramid of dust looking utterly harmless. Next, you need a way to introduce the flame from a respectable distance. You find a long, thin iron rod, perhaps 4 feet in length, that you normally use for stoking the furnace. You wrap the end of it with a small, tight bundle of hemp cloth, dip it into a nearby pot of lamp oil until it's saturated, and then light it. It catches with a soft flicker, and you now hold a long makeshift torch. It's the pinnacle of Tang Dynasty remote ignition technology. Your entire safety protocol consists of standing on the far side of a long stick. It feels both ingenious and profoundly stupid. You take a moment standing there with the torch in your hand. The flame dances, casting long, writhing shadows across the walls. Your heart is hammering against your ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the quiet hum of the furnace. This is the moment of truth. You are deliberately attempting to replicate a known disaster. You are ignoring the wisdom of the ancients. You are about to poke the sleeping dragon the old master warned you about. You take a deep breath, the air tasting of dust and ozone, and you extend the rod. The small flame at its tip moves slowly, inexorably towards the little pile of gray powder. The flame touches the dust. For an instant, a single stretched-out heartbeat. Nothing happens. It feels like a dud, another failure, another puff of whoomph. The world vanishes in a flash of incandescent light. It is not the yellow-orange of a normal fire. It is a brilliant, searing blue-white glare that erupts from the dish, so intense that it bleaches all color from your vision, leaving a ghostly black afterimage of the room burned onto the inside of your eyelids. It is brighter than the sun, a miniature star being born and dying in the same microsecond. Almost simultaneously with the light comes the sound. It is not a crack or a bang, but a deep, hollow, chest-thumping roar, a gut punch of displaced air that seems to press in on you from all sides. It is followed instantly by a massive, roiling cloud of thick, acrid white smoke that billows up and out with impossible speed, a furious, opaque ghost that smothers the room in a blind, choking fog. This is a deflagration. It's a mainstream historical fact that early gunpowder didn't detonate like modern high explosives, which create a supersonic shockwave. Instead, it burned with incredible rapidity, a subsonic wave of combustion that converted the solid powder into a huge volume of hot gas almost instantly. It was this rapid expansion of gas that created the push, the power. You stumble back, one hand flying up to shield your scorched-feeling face, the other dropping the iron rod with a loud clatter that is barely audible over the ringing in your ears. The smoke is thick, tasting of sulfur and something else, something sharp and metallic. It stings your eyes and makes you cough, a deep hacking cough that feels like it's coming from your heels. The quirky little tidbit of your alchemical training tells you this was a catastrophic failure of a stability test. A good substance burns slow and steady. This substance decided to burn all of its now in a single furious instant. Scholars still debate whether the first bang was an entirely terrifying accident, or if the alchemists, having seen smaller flashes before, were incrementally pushing the boundaries of the reaction, adding a bit more saltpeter each time like a chef testing a new spice. But for you, in this moment, there is no debate. There is only the ringing in your ears, the smell of ozone, and the profound, world-altering shock of what you have just done. The fire medicine has spoken, and it has a very, very loud voice. The roar has faded, but the silence it left behind is a ringing, hollow thing. Your ears feel packed with cotton, and the only sound is a high-pitched whine, the protest of nerves overloaded by the sudden assault of noise. You're crouched against the far wall, your mind a blank slate of pure, primal shock. The room is a swirling vortex of thick, gray-white smoke, so dense you can't see the workbench, the furnace, or even your own hand in front of your face. You are swimming in a cloud of your own creation. You try to take a breath and immediately regret it. The smoke is not like the familiar woody smoke from your kiln. It's a chemical fog, sharp and foul. A mixture of sulfur's demonic stench and a strange alkaline bitterness that coats your tongue and makes your eyes water uncontrollably. You double over, coughing violently, each spasm sending a jolt through your stunned body. Slowly, very slowly, the world begins to reappear. The smoke, heavy and clinging, starts to settle, not like a lifting fog, but like a falling curtain of ash. Wisps and tendrils of it still curl through the air, catching the lantern light in ghostly beams. Your vision is blurry from the tears and the flash, but you can begin to make out shapes. The workbench is still there miraculously. Your precious scrolls are safe. The room, though hazy and smelling like the aftermath of a celestial argument, is structurally intact. You haven't, as the ancient text warned, burned down the house. At least, not yet. This small victory feels at the moment like a monumental achievement. You are a terrible alchemist, but a surprisingly adequate non-house burner downer. You push yourself to your feet, your legs feeling unsteady. A fine layer of dark gray dust is settling on every single surface, on your shoulders, in your hair. A gritty film that you can feel on your teeth, The air is still thick with the haze. You stumble toward the center of the room, drawn back to the scene of the crime. The flat ceramic dish is still there, sitting in the middle of the floor. It's intact, though a large dark scorch mark has bloomed on the stone beneath it, a permanent shadow of the event. The little pyramid of powder is gone, completely. In its place, staining the bottom of the dish, is a thin, black, greasy-looking residue. It looks like soot, but different from the dry, flaky carbon you are used to. This is a strange, almost oily smear. You kneel down, your curiosity beginning to overwhelm the shock. What is this stuff? This is the ghost of the huoyao, the corpse of the fire medicine. You cautiously touch the edge of it with your finger. It's still warm. The residue is incredibly fine, finer than any powder you have ever ground. It's a mainstream historical fact that the solid residue of early black powder combustion is primarily potassium carbonate, a simple alkaline salt. The smoke itself was a mix of this particulate matter and various gases, including carbon dioxide and nitrogen. To you, however, it's just a bizarre, dark paste, the physical remnant of that terrifying flash of light and sound. You bring your finger to your nose. It has a sharp, salty smell, a bit like wood ash, but much more intense. This is the quirky part of the aftermath. The residue feels otherworldly. Normal soot is just unburnt carbon, but this feels like a substance that has gone through a fundamental transformation, been taken apart and put back together wrong. On a foolish impulse, you touch the very tip of your tongue to your finger. The taste is intensely salty and bitter, a chemical tang that makes you recoil. It's the taste of pure reaction, the taste of power. You have not created an elixir of life, but you have created a substance that leaves behind the saltiest, nastiest ghost imaginable. As you stare at the black smear, a new question arises. How would your predecessors have interpreted this? Historians still argue whether the early alchemists would have seen this messy residue as a sign of catastrophic failure or as a clue of immense significance. The entire goal of classical alchemy was purification, the refinement of a substance into its most perfect essential form, a gleaming pure elixir. From that perspective, an experiment that ends in a cloud of choking smoke and a greasy black smudge is the definition of a failure. It is an impure, chaotic, and spiritually ugly result. It's the opposite of harmony. But from another perspective, the sheer violence of the transformation, the release of so much light and sound, could be seen as a sign of incredible power. Perhaps the residue wasn't a failure. Perhaps it was the shell, the shed skin of a spirit that had been violently liberated. Was the smoke the soul of the substance, ascending to the heavens? Was this black soot its mortal remains? You look around the room at the thin gray film that now covers everything, a layer of fine dust that has blanketed your entire world. You realize that the most significant part of your experiment wasn't the substance you created, but what it became when you destroyed it. The huoyao itself was just a prelude. The real magic, the real power, was in its annihilation. You didn't invent a thing, you invented a process, an event, a way to turn a spoonful of quiet dust into a room full of noise and smoke and this strange black soot. The shock is finally wearing off, replaced by a profound and unsettling sense of awe. You came looking for the secret to eternal life, and you may have just stumbled upon the secret to instantaneous violent change. The ringing in your ears has finally subsided, replaced by the quiet, familiar crackle of the furnace. The smoke has thinned into a hazy, dreamlike atmosphere, and a fine gray dust has given the entire workshop a soft, monochromatic patina, as if it has aged 100 years in a single moment. You are no longer reeling from the shock. The fear has been replaced by a different, more powerful emotion, a deep, gnawing, intellectual hunger. You have just witnessed a phenomenon that lies completely outside the established boundaries of your world. Now you are faced with the terrifying and exhilarating task of drawing a new map. You have to classify the unknowable. What is this substance? It's the most fundamental question, and yet every answer you try to formulate feels hopelessly inadequate. It's not a mineral you dug from the earth. It's not a plant you harvested from the forest. It is a thing you made. But unlike the elixirs you've tried to create, its defining characteristic is not what it is, but what it does. It does not heal. It does not preserve. It does not nourish. It annihilates itself in a flash of sound and light. Its entire purpose seems to be its own spectacular demise. How do you categorize a substance whose essence is its own violent end? There is no shelf in your apothecary for things that exist for one glorious, deafening second. You dip your finger back into the black, greasy soot in the bottom of the dish. You look at the dark smudge on your fingertip. This is the result, the end product. But the gray powder was the cause. You need a name. A name is a cage, a way to trap a wild concept and study it. You think back to the scroll, to the warning that you so spectacularly ignored. The author called it huoyao, fire medicine. You roll the two words around in your mind. At first, it seemed like a simple, literal description, but now it feels profound. He didn't call it fire rock or exploding dust. He called it a medicine. This is a mainstream historical fact. The name gunpowder in both Chinese, huoyao, and later in English, retains this connection to the world of remedies and elixirs. It was born in an apothecary, not an armory, and its first name reflects that origin. The name reveals that the first people to encounter it saw it through a medical, alchemical lens. They were trying to cure the ultimate disease, mortality, and this was one of the strange, powerful, and ultimately mislabeled prescriptions they wrote along the way. Why medicine? Because in your worldview, any substance that causes a profound transformation is a form of medicine. Medicine rebalances the body's energies, forcing a change from a state of sickness to a state of health. This gray powder forces a change on a much more dramatic scale. It transforms a solid into gas, silence into noise, stillness into a violent rush of air. It is a medicine for the world itself, a potent dose of pure, unadulterated change. It's just that the side effects are a bit more dramatic than usual. No one's going to complain about a rash when the alternative is having their house spontaneously disassembled. You try to analyze the event using your trusted framework, the 5 elements. But it's like trying to describe a thunderstorm using the language of gardening. The initial ingredients were a balance of fire, sulfur, water, saltpeter, and wood, charcoal. But the reaction? The flash of light was pure fire, but the concussive force, the immense pressure? That felt like the crushing power of metal. The billowing smoke was chaotic, like air, which isn't even one of your primary elements. And the residue, the salty black paste? It's dark and fluid, like water, but born from fire. The substance seems to contain all the elements at once, and then violently releases them in a completely unbalanced, chaotic sequence. It is a quirky little philosophical crisis. Your new creation breaks the very cosmic laws you used to create it. Historians still debate how long it took for the alchemists to abandon the idea of gunpowder as a potential life-extending elixir. Did they spend decades trying to tame the reaction, to slow it down, to make that violent burst of energy something the human body could absorb without being instantly vaporized? Or did they immediately recognize it as something entirely new, a substance whose purpose was external, not internal? As you stare at the scorch mark on your floor, you feel the answer is the latter. There is nothing about this event that suggests it should be consumed. You wouldn't try to drink a lightning bolt to cure a headache. This is not a failed elixir. It is a successful something else. The name huoyao is the first step in this new direction. It keeps the medicine part, acknowledging its transformative power, but it qualifies it with fire. This is medicine for the world of flame, not the world of flesh. You decide to make a new entry in your records. You take a clean strip of bamboo and a brush. But what do you write? Item: a gray powder. Properties: turns into a very loud and bright nothing. It feels inadequate. You start to write, documenting the ingredients, the proportions you used, the method of mixing. Then under observations you pause. You describe the flash, the roar, the smoke, the residue. You are no longer writing a recipe for a cure. You are writing the first ever field guide to a new and very dangerous species of matter you have just brought into the world. You have become the unwilling, soot-covered parent of a terrible new idea, and the first thing you must do is give your child its proper name: fire medicine. You stand back from your workbench, looking at the fresh notes you've made on a clean bamboo slip. You have documented the event. You have given it a name. You, the alchemist in this secluded workshop, have just taken the first step in understanding the monstrous new power you've unleashed. But as the adrenaline fades, a strange and humbling thought begins to creep into your mind. Who exactly are you? Is this story, this moment of discovery, truly yours alone? Or are you simply the final hand in a long, invisible relay race, the one who happened to be holding the baton when it suddenly caught fire and exploded? This is the heart of a question that will echo for centuries, a mystery that will never truly be solved. Did one person invent gunpowder, or did everyone? The romantic vision, the one that makes for a much better story, is the lone genius. It's the image of you, a singular, brilliant, and perhaps slightly singed individual toiling away in secret. In this version of history, the discovery was a distinct event, a eureka moment that happened on a specific afternoon in this very room. You are the protagonist, the sole author of this fiery new chapter in human history. It's a compelling narrative because it's simple and personal. It gives the world-changing invention a human face, even if that face is now missing its eyebrows. We love the idea of a Newton getting hit by an apple or an Archimedes leaping from his bath. We want to believe that history is pushed forward by the singular flashes of insight of extraordinary individuals. So perhaps you are that person. Perhaps your name, tragically lost to the mists of time, should be as famous as Nobel or Edison. But there is another, more complex, and perhaps more likely theory. This is the scholarly debate that still rages in the quiet halls of academia. Gunpowder was not an invention, but an accretion. It wasn't a lightning strike of genius. It was the slow, patient building of a coral reef of knowledge by a community of practitioners over generations. You are not a lone genius. You are the representative of a collective. You are the final, anonymous contributor to what was essentially the world's first and most dangerous open-source project. This theory is supported by the very nature of your work. You rely on texts written by masters who came before you. The scroll that warned you about Huo Yao was a message in a bottle, a piece of shared community knowledge. Think about the vast, interconnected network of Taoist temples and alchemical workshops scattered across the Tang Empire. Alchemists traveled, corresponded, and shared their findings, albeit often in cryptic allegorical language designed to keep the uninitiated out. This was a community obsessed with certain materials. One master in a southern province might have perfected a new method for purifying saltpeter, increasing its potency, and documented it in a text. 100 years later, another alchemist in the mountains to the west might have discovered the uniquely energetic properties of sulfur from a local mine. A third might have experimented with different types of charcoal, noting that bamboo charcoal burned hotter and cleaner than pine. Each of these was a small, incremental discovery. Each was a single, necessary ingredient in the final recipe. No single one of them was gunpowder. But when all three pieces of knowledge finally ended up in the same place, perhaps in your workshop, the final explosive synthesis became inevitable. The secrecy of your trade is also a key factor. A quirky tidbit of alchemical culture is that it was intensely paranoid. Recipes were guarded, written in code, and passed down from master to apprentice. If a single person had made the discovery, they might have tried to keep it a closely guarded secret, the ultimate trump card in the quest for imperial patronage. But a secret that powerful is hard to keep. A sudden explosion in a remote workshop tends to attract attention. It's the kind of thing your neighbors notice, especially if their prize-winning cabbages are now lightly dusted with soot. Therefore, it's more likely the knowledge spreads slowly, piece by piece, as a dangerous combination to be avoided, rather than as a revolutionary new discovery to be exploited. This brings us to the core of the academic argument. Historians still argue whether the anonymity of gunpowder's inventor is a tragic accident of lost records, or an inevitable consequence of a collaborative, secretive culture of discovery. Was there a single scroll, with a single name on it, that was simply lost in a fire? A tragically common fate for alchemical workshops for obvious reasons? Or was there never a single name to begin with, because the inventor was a dozen different people, none of whom realized they were all co-authors on the same deadly recipe? As you look around your dusty, hazy workshop, the second option feels more true. You stand on the shoulders of giants even if you don't know their names. You are the product of 1,000 years of accumulated wisdom, of countless failed experiments, and of a network of shared knowledge that stretches across the empire. The mainstream historical fact is that the first documented formulas for gunpowder appear in compendiums, collections of recipes from numerous sources, which strongly supports the idea of a communal pool of knowledge. You are the one who put the pieces together in this room on this day. You are the one who lit the flame. But the pieces themselves were not yours alone. They were a legacy. The creation, in the end, was too vast, too elemental to belong to any one person. It belonged to the art itself. And its true parent was not a single alchemist, but the relentless, dangerous, and collective dream of cheating death. You sink down onto a small wooden stool, the haze in the room now a soft veil rather than a choking fog. The energy of the explosion has dissipated, leaving behind a heavy, contemplative silence. You look at your hands. They are steady, but they feel alien, as if they belong to someone else. These are the hands that just a few moments ago mixed a concoction intended to grant endless life. These are the hands that lit the fuse. And these are the hands that are now coated in the fine gray dust of a substance that seems purpose-built to deliver the most instantaneous death imaginable. The irony is so thick, so potent, it feels like a physical presence in the room with you. It's a joke on a cosmic scale, and you are the punchline. Your entire life's work, the very foundation of your art, has been dedicated to a single, sacred goal: preservation. You sought to halt the relentless march of decay, to capture the fleeting essence of life, and make it permanent. The Taoist path to immortality is one of harmony, of aligning the self with the gentle, life-sustaining currents of the universe. The ideal is to become like a smooth stone in a flowing river, eternal and unchanging while the water of time rushes past. You wanted to create an elixir that would calm the chaotic fires of the body, cool the fevers of aging, and bring the human form into a state of perfect, deathless equilibrium. You were searching for the ultimate stabilizer. And what have you created instead? The ultimate destabilizer. The substance you've named Huoyao is the philosophical opposite of everything you have ever worked towards. It is not a gentle flow, it is a violent rupture. It does not preserve. It obliterates. It is not the sound of a mountain stream. It is the roar of a collapsing mountain. It is pure, unadulterated, instantaneous change. You were trying to write a lullaby for the human body, and you have instead composed a battle cry for the elements themselves. The search for the secret of holding things together has revealed the most powerful way to tear them apart. You think of the emperors, of their desperate, clawing fear of the end. They dread the slow, quiet fading, the gradual loss of strength, the dimming of the senses. They pour their fortunes into your hands, begging you for a potion that will keep their bodies from betraying them, and you have presented them metaphorically with a thunderclap. The supreme irony is that you have indeed found a way to stop the process of aging and decay. The fire medicine is, in its own terrifying way, a perfect preservative. A man killed by it will never grow a day older. He will never suffer the indignities of a failing body. You have succeeded, but only by redefining preservation as instantaneous conversion into a cloud of rapidly expanding gas and fine particulate matter. It's a solution, yes, but it's unlikely to be the one your clients were hoping for. The alchemical dream was to become a Xian, an immortal. This is a quirky little detail of your belief system that now seems almost painfully quaint. A Xian was not a lumbering zombie. They were transcendent beings, light and ethereal. They could fly on the backs of cranes, command the winds, and live in jade palaces on mystical mountains, spending their endless days in sublime contemplation. Their power was effortless, a sign of their perfect harmony with the Tao. The power of Huoyao, by contrast, is the clumsiest, most brutal, and most disharmonious force you have ever witnessed. It is the power of a tantrum, not of enlightenment. You dreamed of flying on a cloud and have instead invented a way to create one out of smoke and fury. You look at the ingredients, now united in the form of a fine gray dust coating your workbench. The sulfur, saltpeter, and charcoal. You brought them together as if you were a divine matchmaker, hoping to unite the fiery yang and the cool yin in a harmonious marriage that would give birth to a child of eternal life. Instead, you created a dysfunctional family of chemicals that, at the slightest provocation have the most violent and spectacular argument imaginable, an argument that ends with the entire house being blown apart. Historians still debate whether the eventual military application of gunpowder was seen by Taoist thinkers as a complete betrayal of its alchemical origins or as a logical if terrifying extension of its power to control and transform the physical world. Was this a perversion of a sacred art or the discovery of a different, darker kind of magic? The other elixirs, the ones that failed, were at least in the same category as the dream. The mercury and arsenic potions were poisons, yes. They were deadly, but they were intimate internal failures. They killed the body from within, a slow, creeping corruption that mimicked disease. They were a tragedy. This, however, feels different. This is a comedy. A black, terrible, deafeningly loud comedy. You sought the elixir of life and accidentally created the elixir of sudden disassembly. It's a mainstream historical fact that this paradox lies at the very heart of gunpowder's origin story. The quest for the ultimate medicine produced the ultimate weapon. The search for a way to save one life unlocked a method for taking thousands. Your workshop was meant to be a cradle of immortality, and you have turned it into the birthplace of a new and terrible form of death. You let out a short, sharp laugh that makes no sound, just a puff of dusty air. It is the laugh of a man who has just been told the biggest and cruelest joke in the history of the world. The heavy, ironic laughter fades into the dusty air of your workshop. You've had your moment of cosmic despair, your dark night of the alchemical soul. But the sun will rise tomorrow, and a practical problem remains, sitting innocently in its ceramic bowl. What in the world do you do with a bowl of explosive dust? You can't eat it. You can't sell it as medicine unless you have a deep-seated grudge against your customers. And you certainly can't just leave it lying around. The first rule of inventing a catastrophically unstable substance is finding a less catastrophic use for it before you accidentally become its first victim. Your mind, trained to seek harmony and balance, now searches for a constructive purpose for this beautifully destructive creation. The answer doesn't come from a new theory, but from an old one. You remember the sulfur, a key ingredient in the powder. Long before you mixed it with saltpeter, you knew its purpose. You burned it to create a pungent smoke that drove away evil spirits, a form of spiritual fumigation. The huo yao is, if nothing else, an incredibly efficient way to make a great deal of smoke and a terrifying noise. So, what if its purpose isn't to heal the body, but to heal the spiritual atmosphere of a place? What if you haven't invented a failed elixir, but rather the most powerful ghost repellent in human history? The local spirits, who were probably just enjoying a quiet haunting, are now facing a sudden and very loud eviction notice, served by applied chemistry. This is the pivot. The moment the purpose of the black powder shifts from internal to external, you begin to experiment not with grand explosions on the floor, but with containment. You need a way to direct the flying and dancing. You find a hollowed-out stalk of bamboo, a sturdy, naturally formed tube. Carefully, you pour a small amount of the gray powder inside, packing it down with a thin rod. You then plug one end with damp clay and insert a small, twisted paper fuse into the other. You have just created the world's first firecracker. It's not a weapon. It's not a tool. It's a device purpose built to make a loud bang. You've essentially invented the world's most aggressive party favor. The first public demonstration is not for an emperor or a general, but for a local festival. Perhaps the Lunar New Year. It is a time of immense celebration, but also of great spiritual anxiety. It is the time when the mythical beast Neon, a creature afraid of loud noises and the color red, is said to emerge to terrorize villages. For centuries, your people have beaten drums, clashed cymbals, and lit bonfires to scare it away. You arrive with your collection of unassuming bamboo tubes offering a new kind of noise. It's a mainstream historical fact that this was the first widespread application of gunpowder. For centuries, its primary role was in celebration, in the loud, joyous, and spiritually significant act of scaring away the bad things, both real and imagined, that lurk in the dark. Night falls. The village is a sea of red lanterns and expectant faces. You take one of your bamboo tubes and place it in an open area. You light the fuse. A tiny spark travels down the paper, a slow, sputtering countdown. People watch, curious but unimpressed. It's just a piece of bamboo. Then the spark vanishes inside. For a moment there is silence. And then, with a deafening crack, the tube explodes. It's a sound sharper and louder than any drum, a physical shockwave that makes the crowd gasp and flinch back as one. For a moment after, the only sound is the ringing in everyone's ears. Then, a nervous laugh, followed by another, and soon the entire village is buzzing with a mixture of fear and delighted awe. You have not just made a noise. You have commanded thunder to strike at your will. You refine the technique. You discover that by mixing in different mineral salts, a quirky little secret of the early pyrotechnist, you can change the color of the sparks. By adding iron filings, you get a shower of glittering gold. A bit of copper and the sparks turn a ghostly green. You pack the powder into paper tubes, creating fire trees and silver flowers that erupt in the night sky. Historians still debate how quickly the complex art of pyrotechnics developed, separating the recipes for brilliant, colorful displays from the cruder, more propulsive mixtures needed for military applications. But in this moment, you are not an engineer of war. You are an artist of fire. You are painting on the canvas of the night sky with explosions. The irony has not vanished. It has simply changed its clothes. You, the quiet scholar who sought the stillness of eternal life, have become the purveyor of noise and chaos, the master of the ephemeral spectacle. Your creation, born from a desire for permanence, has found its purpose in a fleeting, momentary flash of brilliance that dies the instant it is born. The Emperor is no closer to living forever, but his New Year's party is now exponentially more impressive. You have failed completely in your original quest, but as you watch the faces of the crowd upturned and filled with childlike wonder at the shower of golden sparks you've sent arcing into the darkness, you realize you may have accidentally stumbled upon a different kind of magic altogether. The sparks from your silver flowers have faded back into the night, and the ringing in the villagers' ears has subsided, replaced by an excited, chattering buzz. You are no longer the reclusive, slightly creepy scholar from the abandoned temple wing. You are now the fire guy, the man who commands thunder, the artist who paints with explosions. It's a significant upgrade to your public image. And with this newfound fame comes a new and entirely unexpected set of professional demands. People no longer approach you in hushed tones, asking for the secrets to eternal life. They now come to you in broad daylight with far more practical problems. Your life, it seems, is about to take a sharp turn from the cosmically profound to the comically mundane. The first request comes from a grain merchant. He's a large man with a perpetually worried expression, and today he looks closer to tears than usual. He explains that his main silo, full of the season's rice harvest, is infested with weevils and rats. They are eating away his profits, his family's security. He has tried everything, cats, traps, prayers, nothing has worked. But he reasons, he saw what your fire medicine did to the neon beast. He heard the noise. He saw the smoke. If it can scare away a mythical demon the size of a water buffalo, surely it can do something about a few thousand tiny bugs and a family of rodents. He looks at you with desperate hope. He wants you to fumigate his silo. He wants you to use your world-shattering invention as the world's most over-engineered can of bug spray. And so, you find yourself standing before a tall wooden silo. Not with a crucible, but with a large sack of huo yao. The logic is sound, in a brutal overkill sort of way. This is a mainstream historical fact. Long before it was used in cannons, gunpowder was widely employed as a powerful fumigant and pest control agent. The sulfur in the mixture was already known to be toxic to insects, and the sheer volume of acrid deoxygenating smoke produced by the reaction would be lethal in an enclosed space. You direct the merchant's workers to seal every crack and opening in the silo with wet clay. You then lay a long, thin trail of the gray powder from the center of the silo floor to a small hole near the base. You light a long, slow-burning incense stick and wedge it next to the trail's end, creating a time delay fuse. Then you tell everyone to run. They do. After a few minutes, a thick, angry-looking plume of gray smoke begins to pour from the eaves of the silo roof, as if the building itself has developed a terrible smoking habit. The job is done. Your fire medicine has claimed its first victims, and they are weevils. This opens the floodgates. Soon you're getting all sorts of requests. A farmer wants you to clear locusts from his fields. A silk producer needs to fumigate his storerooms to kill moths. You become the go-to exterminator for the entire region. But the applications get stranger, moving from pest control back towards its original, if twisted, purpose: medicine. A man comes to you with a stubborn case of scabies, a nasty skin condition caused by burrowing mites. He has tried all the traditional sulfur ointments with no success. He points to your sack of gray powder. "That has sulfur in it, doesn't it?" he asks. "But it's stronger, isn't it? It has more qi, more fire?" He wants you to make him an ointment from the fire medicine. This is the truly quirky and bizarre turn your career has taken. You are now a dermatologist whose primary prescription is a low-grade explosive. You cautiously agree. You take a small amount of the huoyao and mix it into a thick paste with lard and honey. You give it to the man with a list of stern warnings, the most important of which is to avoid open flames, warm hearths, stray sparks, and lightning storms for the foreseeable future. The very idea is terrifying, and yet it is rooted in your alchemical worldview. Historians still argue whether these early medical applications of gunpowder were based on any observed therapeutic effect, perhaps the sulfur's antiseptic properties, or if they were purely magical, relying on the substance's yang energy to violently expel the yin sickness from the body. For you, it is both. You hope the sulfur will kill the mites while the intense fire energy of the mixture will metaphorically burn the disease out of the man's skin. Miraculously, it seems to work. The man's condition improves. Word spreads. Soon, you're treating ringworm, eczema, and even making palliative salves for the lesions of lepers. Your huoyao, your failed elixir of immortality, has found its calling as a surprisingly effective, if incredibly hazardous, topical cream. The irony is almost too much to bear. You spent years trying to create a substance that would perfect the human body from within, and you ended up with something that cures rashes when you smear it on the outside. It's like trying to build a celestial palace and ending up with a very effective garden shed. You have gone from trying to cheat death on a cosmic scale to fighting a small-scale war against fungus and mites. The journey from immortality to itch cream is not a long one, it turns out. Your days have found a new, strange rhythm. By morning, you are a pyrotechnician, mixing powders for a magistrate's daughter's wedding celebration. By afternoon, you are a pest controller, advising a farmer on the best way to dry his barn without setting the hay on fire. By evening, you are a pharmacist, grinding a tiny amount of your volatile gray dust into a lard-based salve to treat a soldier's stubborn ringworm. You have, against all odds, domesticated your monster. Your fire medicine has become a useful, if eccentric, part of the local economy. But the world is not a peaceful village festival. Beyond the fields and streams of your quiet valley, there are borders. There are armies, and there are men whose only job is to think of more efficient ways to kill other men. And one of them has heard about you. He arrives without ceremony, a garrison commander whose face is a roadmap of old battles and bad weather. He is not interested in your fireworks. He does not have a rash. He watches you demonstrate a simple firecracker, the kind that makes children squeal with delight, but he doesn't smile. The crack echoes off the walls of your workshop, and when the ringing stops, he looks at you with a cold, appraising eye. "That noise," he says, his voice low and gravelly. "The smoke. The fire. Can you put it on the end of a spear?" The question is so blunt, so brutally practical, it takes you a moment to process. He doesn't see a celebration or a fumigation. He sees the flash and the roar, and he immediately translates it into the language of violence. He has a problem. His problem is men on the other side of a shield wall, men charging on horseback. His problem is breaking a line of terrified but determined soldiers. He wants to take your magic trick and turn it into a weapon. He wants to take the dragon you've trained to perform at parties and hand it a sword. The leap of logic is terrifying, and yet, from his perspective, completely obvious. You start with the object you know best, the hollow bamboo tube. The firecracker is designed to contain the pressure until it bursts, creating a loud noise. But the commander doesn't want a noise. He wants a projection. He wants the power to go out, not just up. So, you take a much thicker, sturdier stalk of bamboo, one less likely to shatter. You bind it with cord and lacquer to reinforce it. You attach this tube firmly to the end of a long, sturdy spear, just behind the sharpened metal tip. This is no longer a party favor. It is a menacing, unfamiliar object, a hybrid of old and new. This is the birth of the fire lance, the huoqiang. It's a mainstream historical fact that this was one of the very first true gunpowder weapons, a direct ancestor of the gun designed to bring controlled chemical fury to the tip of a spear. Now for the filling. You mix a batch of your huoyao, but you adjust the formula slightly. You want a slower burn, something that will produce a sustained jet of flame rather than a single instantaneous explosion. You pack the powder into the bamboo tube, but this time you leave the front end open. The back is plugged with clay with a long fuse running through it. The theory is simple. The burning powder will create a massive volume of hot gas, and since it can't go backward, it will be forced out the open end in a furious torrent. You and the commander take the prototype to a secluded clearing for a test. You plant the butt of the spear in the ground, aiming it at a straw dummy you've set up 30 feet away. Your hands tremble slightly as you light the fuse. You scramble back. The fuse sputters, vanishes into the tube, and then the world erupts. It's not the sharp crack of a firecracker, but a deeper guttural roar. A massive jet of incandescent orange flame, thick black smoke, and a blizzard of golden sparks erupts from the bamboo tube, stretching out for 10 or 15 feet. It's a man-made dragon's breath, a controlled, directed explosion that lasts for 3 or 4 terrifying seconds before sputtering out. The straw dummy is untouched, well out of range, but the grass in front of the lance is blackened and smoking. The commander is silent for a long moment. Then a slow, grim smile spreads across his face. "Good," he grunts. "Now add rocks." This is the quirky, brutal next step in its evolution. The flame and noise are terrifying, but they might not be lethal. So you create a new mixture. You pack the first half of the tube with your fire medicine, and then, in the front half, you add what the military manuals will later call coviatives. It's a wonderfully clinical-sounding name for a horrible idea. You pack the tube with sand, sharp little pebbles, bits of broken pottery, and scrap iron. You even add some of the leftover arsenic powder from your elixir experiments, hoping to create a toxic smoke. You test it again. This time, when the lance roars to life, it spews not just fire but a short-range shotgun blast of razor-sharp shrapnel. The straw dummy is riddled with holes, torn to shreds by the cloud of flying debris. Historians still argue whether the fire lance was primarily conceived as an incendiary weapon, a flamethrower, a projectile weapon, a shotgun, or if its main value was always its immense psychological impact on unprepared soldiers and horses. Watching the shredded dummy smolder, you realize the answer is all of the above. It burns, it cuts, and it terrifies. It is a perfect weapon for close-quarters combat. The commander claps you on the shoulder, a gesture that feels less like congratulations and more like a claim of ownership. He commissions 100 of them. In that moment, something inside you shifts forever. The alchemist who sought eternal life is gone. The entertainer who created fireworks is gone. The healer who made ointments is gone. You are now an armorer, an inventor of weapons. You have handed your dragon over to the generals, and you know, with a cold, sinking certainty, that they will not use it to scare away spirits. They will use it to make them. The commander's order for 100 fire lances is a turning point. The moment a quiet stream of inquiry is captured and rerouted into the grim, industrial canal of warfare. Your small, secluded workshop is no longer your own. It becomes a prototype, a proof of concept for something much, much larger. The handful of apprentices who once helped you grind herbs for elixirs are now replaced by grim-faced soldiers and meticulous artisans sent from the capital. The work is no longer about whispered secrets and esoteric texts. It's about production quotas, standardized measurements, and quality control. Your business model has pivoted, as they'd say, in a future you can't imagine. You've gone from wellness guru to defense contractor, and the government is now your biggest and only client. Time moves on. The golden age of the Tang, with its poetic obsessions and courtly intrigues, gives way to a new era. The Song dynasty rises, a period of incredible technological and economic advancement, but also one of constant existential military threat. The nomadic horsemen of the north, the Khitans, the Jurchens, and later the Mongols, are a relentless pressure on the empire's borders. They are masters of cavalry, of the lightning raid, and the mounted archer. The Song army, largely composed of infantry, is often at a disadvantage in open country. They cannot outride the steppe warriors, so they must outthink them. They must innovate. And the strange, fiery dust that trickled out of your Taoist workshop becomes the central pillar of this new military strategy. The imperial court doesn't just encourage your work, they institutionalize it. This is the Song dynasty's military revolution. It's a mainstream historical fact that this period saw the establishment of huge, state-run arsenals dedicated specifically to the production of gunpowder and gunpowder weapons. Your solitary furnace is replaced by vast complexes with hundreds of workers, each performing a specialized task. One group does nothing but scrape and refine saltpeter, another grinds sulfur, a third oversees the dangerous dusty work of charcoal production, and a fourth, the most skilled and highest paid, does the mixing, carefully combining the ingredients according to precise, state-mandated formulas that are now classified as the highest secrets of the empire. Suddenly, you're filling out requisition forms in triplicate for saltpeter. The imperial war machine, it turns out, runs on paperwork as much as it does on fury. With this industrial scale comes a terrifying explosion of creativity. The fire lance was just the beginning, a crude and simple tool. Now the engineers in these new arsenals, free from your alchemical baggage and focused solely on military application, begin to ask more sophisticated questions. Instead of just spewing fire forward, what if you could throw the fire itself? And so the first true grenades are born. They are called Zhen Tianlei, or heaven-shaking thunder bombs. They consist of a hard casing, often ceramic or iron, filled with gunpowder. A fuse is lit and the bomb is hurled either by hand or by a large trebuchet into the enemy ranks. The result is not just the explosion, but a devastating hail of razor-sharp pottery or metal shrapnel. The quirky and ingenious part of this new technology is the casing. While the most powerful bombs used iron, many were made from far more humble materials. Some of the most effective early grenades had casings made of hardened paper and bamboo. Imagine a team of artisans, masters of papercraft, sitting and meticulously gluing together layer after layer of thick paper to create a hard, hollow sphere. They then fill this sphere with your deadly gray powder, seal it with lacquer, and attach a fuse. It's the world's most terrifying piece of origami. When it explodes, it lacks the metal shrapnel of an iron bomb, but the concussive force and the blast of flame are more than enough to sow terror and chaos in a tightly packed formation of soldiers. The innovation doesn't stop there. An engineer has a brilliant, terrifying thought. What if we don't need a trebuchet to throw the fire? What if the fire could throw itself? The rocket is born. The rocket. They take the same paper or bamboo tubes you use for your festival fireworks, but they make them thicker, stronger. They pack them with a slower burning, more propulsive form of your fire medicine. They attach long, thin sticks for stability and a sharp iron point to the tip. They build large wheeled frames that can hold dozens of these fire arrows at once, aiming them in a single direction. When the fuses are lit, the result is a screeching, fiery volley, a swarm of self-propelled weapons that streaks across the battlefield, trailing smoke and terror. Historians still debate how decisive these early gunpowder weapons truly were in battles of the period. Were they battlefield game-changers that could single-handedly win an engagement? Or were they primarily terrifying shock and awe weapons designed to break enemy morale? The accuracy of a fire arrow was abysmal, and the effective casualty radius of an early grenade was small. But the psychological impact on men, and, more importantly, horses who had never seen or heard anything like it, was immense. A cavalry charge could be broken not by the number of horses killed, but by the sheer panic induced when the sky suddenly rained fire and the air filled with thunder. Your creation, born in a quiet workshop, has now found its ultimate purpose. It is the physical embodiment of fear, a tool not just for killing the enemy, but for making them lose the will to fight. The commander's order for 100 fire lances is a turning point, the moment a quiet stream of inquiry is captured and rerouted into the grim, industrial canal of warfare. Your small, secluded workshop is no longer your own. It becomes a prototype, a proof of concept for something much, much larger. The handful of apprentices who once helped you grind herbs for elixirs are now replaced by grim-faced soldiers and meticulous artisans sent from the capital. The work is no longer about whispered secrets and esoteric texts. It's about production quotas, standardized measurements, and quality control. Your business model has pivoted, as they'd say in a future you can't imagine. You've gone from wellness guru to defense contractor, and the government is now your biggest and only client. Time moves on. The golden age of the Tang, with its poetic obsessions and courtly intrigues, gives way to a new era. The Song dynasty rises, a period of incredible technological and economic advancement, but also one of constant existential military threat. The nomadic horsemen of the north, the Khitans, the Jurchens, and later the Mongols, are a relentless pressure on the empire's borders. They are masters of cavalry, of the lightning raid, and the mounted archer. The Song army, largely composed of infantry, is often at a disadvantage in open country. They cannot outride the steppe warriors, so they must outthink them. They must innovate. And the strange, fiery dust that trickled out of your Taoist workshop becomes the central pillar of this new military strategy. The imperial court doesn't just encourage your work, they institutionalize it. This is the Song dynasty's military revolution. It's a mainstream historical fact that this period saw the establishment of huge, state-run arsenals dedicated specifically to the production of gunpowder and gunpowder weapons. Your solitary furnace is replaced by vast complexes with hundreds of workers, each performing a specialized task. One group does nothing but scrape and refine saltpeter. Another grinds sulfur. A third oversees the dangerous, dusty work of charcoal production. And a fourth, the most skilled and highest paid, does the mixing, carefully combining the ingredients according to precise, state-mandated formulas that are now classified as the highest secrets of the empire. Suddenly, you're filling out requisition forms in triplicate for saltpeter. The imperial war machine, it turns out, runs on paperwork as much as it does on fury. With this industrial scale comes a terrifying explosion of creativity. The fire lance was just the beginning, a crude and simple tool. Now the engineers in these new arsenals, free from your alchemical baggage and focused solely on military application, begin to ask more sophisticated questions. Instead of just spewing fire forward, what if you could throw the fire itself? And so the first true grenades are born. They are called Zhen Tian Lei, or heaven-shaking thunder bombs. They consist of a hard casing, often ceramic or iron, filled with gunpowder. A fuse is lit and the bomb is hurled, either by hand or by a large trebuchet, into the enemy ranks. The result is not just the explosion, but a devastating hail of razor-sharp pottery or metal shrapnel. The quirky and ingenious part of this new technology is the casing. While the most powerful bombs used iron, many were made from far more humble materials. Some of the most effective early grenades had casings made of hardened paper and bamboo. Imagine a team of artisans, masters of paper craft, sitting and meticulously gluing together layer after layer of thick paper to create a hard, hollow sphere. They then fill this sphere with your deadly gray powder, seal it with lacquer, and attach a fuse. It's the world's most terrifying piece of origami. When it explodes, it lacks the metal shrapnel of an iron bomb, but the concussive force and the blast of flame are more than enough to sow terror and chaos in a tightly packed formation of soldiers. The innovation doesn't stop there. An engineer has a brilliant, terrifying thought. What if we don't need a trebuchet to throw the fire? What if the fire could throw itself? The rocket is born. The rocket. They take the same paper or bamboo tubes you used for your festival fireworks, but they make them thicker, stronger. They pack them with a slower burning, more propulsive form of your fire medicine. They attach long, thin sticks for stability and a sharp iron point to the tip. They build large, wheeled frames that can hold dozens of these fire arrows at once, aiming them in a single direction. When the fuses are lit, the result is a screeching, fiery volley. A swarm of self-propelled weapons that streaks across the battlefield, trailing smoke and terror. Historians still debate how decisive these early gunpowder weapons truly were in battles of the period. Were they battlefield game-changers that could single-handedly win an engagement? Or were they primarily terrifying shock and awe weapons designed to break enemy morale? The accuracy of a fire arrow was abysmal, and the effective casualty radius of an early grenade was small. But the psychological impact on men, and more importantly, Horses who had never seen or heard anything like it was immense. A cavalry charge could be broken not by the number of horses killed, but by the sheer panic induced when the sky suddenly rained fire and the air filled with thunder. Your creation, born in a quiet workshop, has now found its ultimate purpose. It is the physical embodiment of fear, a tool not just for killing the enemy, but for making them lose the will to fight. The journey of your fire medicine has been a long and dusty one, carried in the saddlebags of merchants and the siege trains of Mongol conquerors. It has crossed deserts and mountains, learning new names and new applications along the way. Now, its journey takes a final, fateful leap, not across land, but across the sea of culture and ideas, arriving in a world that is, in many ways, the polar opposite of the one where it was born. You are no longer in the sun-drenched courtyards of Damascus or the bustling metropolises of Song, China. You find yourself in the cool, damp, and perpetually gray world of 13th century Europe. A world of stone castles, feudal lords, and knights in heavy iron armor. A world that believes its defenses are impregnable and its social order is ordained by God. A world that has absolutely no idea what is coming for it. The knowledge does not arrive with a bang, but as a whisper. Returning crusaders and Venetian traders like Marco Polo bring back fragmented, almost unbelievable stories from the far-off lands of the Great Khan. They speak of arrows that fly on their own, of ceramic pots that explode with the force of a thunderclap, of a strange black powder used by the Tartars to create fire and terror. These stories are treated as curiosities, as tall tales told by travelers with too much sun and exotic wine in their systems. The concept is too alien. Warfare in this land is a known quantity. It is about the strength of a castle wall, the reach of a longbow, the crushing weight of a cavalry charge. It is a thing of muscle, steel, and stone. The idea of a powder that can replace all three is not just revolutionary, it is nonsensical. But the whispers persist and they reach the ears of men who are trained to listen to the strange and the arcane. They reach the new universities of Oxford and Paris, where a different kind of alchemy is practiced, one that blends Christian theology with rediscovered Greek philosophy and Arabic science. And here, in a cold stone scriptorium, hunched over a heavy wooden desk, a Franciscan friar named Roger Bacon is about to catch the whisper and write it down. He is not a soldier or a general. He is a scholar, a polymath, a man of breathtaking and, to his superiors, often alarming intellect. And like you, all those centuries ago, he is an alchemist, fascinated by the transformation of matter. Bacon is not experimenting in a dusty workshop. He is not mixing sulfur and saltpeter over a charcoal flame, hoping for a flash of insight. His discovery is a quiet, intellectual one, made with the scratching of a quill on parchment. He is one of the few European scholars of his time who has mastered multiple languages, including Arabic. He spends his days devouring texts that have trickled into Europe from the great libraries of the Islamic world. And in one of those texts, likely a treatise on chemistry or medicine, he finds it, a description of Thaljal-Sin, the Chinese snow. He finds a recipe for a remarkable incendiary. He translates, he calculates, he understands. This is a mainstream historical fact. Roger Bacon is not the inventor of gunpowder in Europe, but he is the first person known to have written down the formula, sometime around the year 1267. He documented its existence in his Opus Majus, a monumental work of science and philosophy he wrote for the Pope. But Bacon was not just a genius. He was a man with a conscience. He immediately grasped the horrifying potential of what he had found. He saw past the fireworks and the fumigation and straight to the battlefield. He understood that this powder could destroy an army or a city, and this knowledge terrified him. So what does he do? In a truly quirky and telling act of intellectual self-preservation, he conceals the most important part of the recipe. He describes the sulfur and the charcoal clearly enough, but when it comes to the crucial proportions of the ingredients, he encodes them in a complex Latin anagram. He buries the secret in a cryptic jumble of letters, a puzzle that only another brilliant mind would be able to solve. It was the 13th century equivalent of putting the nuclear launch codes in a crossword puzzle. He was simultaneously recording the knowledge for posterity while trying to prevent it from falling into the hands of the vulgar, who would, he knew, immediately use it for destruction. Historians still argue whether Bacon's formula was a true independent European discovery, based on first principles, or simply the first documented deciphering of a recipe that had arrived from the East via Arabic scholarship. The evidence, particularly his use of the anagram and his clear fear of the substance's power, strongly suggests the latter. He didn't seem surprised by a discovery. He seemed burdened by a secret he had uncovered. Your accidental whoomph in a Chinese workshop was a moment of pure, shocking discovery. Bacon's discovery was the quiet, terrifying realization that the half-believed rumors were true. The secret, however, was too powerful to remain a puzzle on a page. Other scholars, alchemists, and monks across Europe were working on the same problem. Legends speak of a German friar, Berthold Schwarz, whose name, fittingly, means Black Berthold, who in the early 14th century supposedly rediscovered the formula and was the first to use it to propel a projectile from a tube. Whether he solved Bacon's anagram or came to the formula on his own, the result was the same. The knowledge was out. European artisans, masters of metalworking, soon improved upon the substance, developing a process called corning that granulated the powder, making it far more stable and powerful. Your fire medicine had found its most devoted and dangerously innovative new disciples. The quiet scratching of Bacon's quill had become the loudest death knell in the history of the world. The secret is out, no longer confined to an anagram on a dusty page in Oxford. Your fire medicine, now known in this part of the world as black powder, is in the hands of European craftsmen, men whose entire history is built on forging metal and shaping stone. They do not have your Taoist reverence for balance and harmony. They are not trying to create a spiritual event. They are engineers, pragmatists, and masters of brute force. They look at the powder not as a medicine but as a fuel, a propellant, and they are about to build an engine for it that will crack the foundations of their entire world. For 1,000 years, this world has been defined by one supreme architectural and military fact: the stone wall, the castle, the ultimate symbol of power, permanence, and defense. You find yourself standing on a muddy field, the damp European air chilling you to the bone. In front of you is a typical fortress of the age, a fairy tale castle made terrifyingly real. It has high, thick curtain walls topped with crenellations. Tall, round towers anchor its corners. It looks invincible, a man-made mountain of solid rock. For centuries, this has been the final word in any argument. A king could march his army across a rebellious duke's land, but if the duke could retreat behind these walls with enough food and water, the game changed. A siege was a slow, agonizing, and ruinously expensive affair. It was a contest of patience and starvation. The attackers might build huge wooden siege towers or massive trebuchets that could hurl heavy stones, but these were chipping away at the mountain. The wall, for the most part, held. The lord inside his castle was, for all practical purposes, a king in his own right. His power was written in stone, but today in this muddy field, something new has been added to the familiar landscape of a siege. It is a grotesque, monstrous thing, lying on a heavy wooden sledge aimed at the castle's main gatehouse. It's an early cannon, a bombard. It is less a weapon and more a piece of industrial plumbing, a huge, thick-walled tube of crudely cast iron, bound with heavy iron hoops like a giant barrel. It is squat, ugly, and seems less engineered and more willed into existence through sheer effort. A group of men, their faces already black with soot, are working around it with a strange mixture of reverence and terror. They are the new priests of this new, violent religion. You watch their ritual. They use a long ramrod to push a large bag of your black powder down the cannon's throat. Then they shove in a wad of cloth and straw. Finally, with immense effort, they roll a massive, roughly spherical ball of cut stone, a projectile that weighs hundreds of pounds, and ram it down the barrel. The process is slow, laborious, and fraught with peril. A stray spark, a poorly mixed batch of powder, a flaw in the casting of the iron, and this entire contraption could turn itself and its crew into a cloud of smoke and flying metal. This is the quirky and terrifying reality of early artillery. Being a cannoneer was arguably the most dangerous job on the battlefield, with a high probability of being killed by your own weapon. The head gunner, A man with a wild look in his eyes and one less finger than he was born with calls his men back. He takes a long, slow burning match on a pole. He touches it to a small hole at the back of the bombard. For a moment, nothing. Then with a sound that rips the sky in half, the monster awakens. It is a sound unlike any other in this world, not the twang of a bow or the thud of a catapult, but a deep earth-shattering boom that is felt as much in your bones as it is heard with your ears. A colossal cloud of thick, foul-smelling white smoke erupts, completely obscuring the weapon. Out of this cloud, the huge stone ball sails, impossibly fast, arcing slowly across the field towards the castle wall. The impact is devastating. The stone ball doesn't chip the wall, it shatters it. It strikes the gatehouse tower with the force of a tectonic event. A huge crater appears, and massive blocks of stone, the very symbol of permanence, are thrown into the air like pebbles. A web of cracks spreads across the face of the tower. The defenders on the battlements, who might have mocked a catapult stone, are stunned into silence. Their invulnerable home has just been grievously wounded. The cannon crew, having survived, begins the slow process of reloading. Another shot. And another. By evening, the gatehouse tower is a collapsing ruin, and a gaping, rubble-choked breach has been torn in the once unbreakable wall. This is a mainstream historical fact. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 to the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II is often cited as the definitive end of the age of castles. Mehmed employed massive bombards, some capable of firing stone balls weighing over 200 pounds, to systematically demolish the city's legendary Theodosian walls, which had stood for over 1,000 years. The psychological shock to Christendom was immense. If Constantinople could fall, no wall was safe. Historians still argue whether the Gunpowder Revolution was a rapid, dramatic shift that occurred over a single generation, or a much slower, more gradual evolution, where castles and cannons coexisted uneasily for over a century. But from where you stand, watching the smoke clear and the rubble settle, it feels like the world has changed in a single afternoon. The feudal lord is no longer safe in his castle. His stone walls cannot protect him from a king who can afford a train of these new, terrible weapons. Power is no longer measured in stone and lineage alone. It is now measured in iron and gunpowder. Your fire medicine, born from a Taoist dream of personal immortality, has become the ultimate tool of centralization, the weapon that will batter down the walls of the old feudal order and clear the ground for the rise of the modern nation-state. The echoes of the great bombards fade, the dust of the shattered castle walls settles, and the grand, noisy stage of history recedes. You are no longer in the muddy fields of Europe. The world shrinks again, the centuries peel back, and you are standing once more in the quiet, dusty dimness of your workshop. The air is thick with the scent of charcoal and strange herbs. The only light is the soft, warm glow from a single paper lantern. The only sound is the gentle crackle of the furnace. It is here, in this small, forgotten room, that the first seed of all that destruction was planted. It was here that a hand, perhaps your hand, first mixed the three powders. It was here that the first thunderclap was born, and it is here that we must confront the final, and perhaps most profound, mystery of this entire story. Who were you? What was your name? The answer is silence. Nothing. A complete and total void in the historical record. We have names for the kings and the generals, the poets and the philosophers. We know the name of the man who invented the printing press, the cotton gin, the steam engine. Their names are etched into the foundations of the modern world. But the name of the individual, or the group of individuals, who stumbled upon the most transformative and destructive chemical compound in human history, is utterly, irrevocably lost. It is an invention without an inventor, a creation without a credited creator. Its legacy is deafening, but its parentage is a whisper in a hurricane. You, the alchemist who changed the world, are a ghost. A footnote on a page that was never written. Why? How could something so monumental be so anonymous? Perhaps the answer lies in the very nature of your work. You operated in the shadows, a member of a secretive fraternity that guarded its knowledge with cryptic texts and allegorical language. Revealing a new discovery, especially one as volatile as this, might have invited not fame, but unwelcome scrutiny from suspicious officials, accusations of black magic, or the greedy and violent attention of rivals. Maybe you knew on some level that this was a dangerous and cursed knowledge, and you chose to remain anonymous for your own safety. It's hard to cash a government grant when the local magistrate has decided you're in league with demons. Or perhaps the reason is simpler and sadder. Perhaps the discovery was seen, at the time, as a failure. You were, after all, trying to create an elixir of life. You ended up with a substance that, in the most charitable light, was an excellent way to scare ghosts and, in the less charitable light, was a fantastic way to demolish your own laboratory. It's a mainstream historical fact that the discovery was first documented as a warning, a what not to do. No one rushes to put their name on a spectacular failure. You wouldn't sign your name to a pot of soup you'd accidentally set on fire. It's entirely possible that you and your colleagues saw Huo Yao not as a breakthrough, but as a dangerous and embarrassing dead end, and you quietly swept the whole messy business under the rug, hoping no one important noticed the scorch marks on the ceiling. This leads to the quirky and slightly morbid speculation about your ultimate fate. What happened to you after that first whoomph? Did you, chastened by the experience, go back to grinding herbs and live out a long, quiet life, occasionally telling your apprentices the story of that one time I almost blew my beard off? Or did your curiosity get the better of you? Did you try a bigger pile of powder? Did you try packing it more tightly into a sealed container? It is a chillingly plausible scenario that the inventor of gunpowder was also its first casualty vaporized in a subsequent more ambitious experiment, taking his name and his secret with him to the afterlife in a cloud of sulfurous smoke. Talk about a bad day at the office. Historians still argue whether the lack of a name is a simple failure of record-keeping in a turbulent era, or if it reflects a deeper cultural truth about Eastern versus Western concepts of invention and individual genius. In the West, the narrative of the lone, heroic inventor, the Archimedes or the Edison, is deeply ingrained. But in your world, the emphasis was often on the tradition, the school of thought, the lineage of masters and apprentices. The knowledge belonged to the Tao, not to the individual. The discovery might have been seen as the tradition bearing fruit, not the work of one person. You were not the inventor. You were merely the vessel through which a new truth was revealed. You looked down at your hands, the hands that might have been the first to feel the strange, gritty texture of the 3 mixed powders. You created a substance that would give emperors the power to topple dynasties and forge nations. Your creation would be meticulously documented, its formulas refined and recorded in the annals of every great empire. Your child, in essence, became immortal, its name, gunpowder, known in every corner of the world. And yet you, the parent, were completely erased from the birth certificate. The world will forever remember the sound you made, but it will never remember your name. And in that silence, that perfect anonymity, lies the final, most haunting irony of all. The alchemist who sought eternal life for himself achieved it only for his creation, while he himself faded into nothing. You are back in the silent room, the ghost of an anonymous alchemist. From this quiet epicenter, you can feel the shock waves of your creation spreading outwards, not through space, but through time. The legacy of your fire medicine is not a simple story of a new weapon. It is the story of a world remade in fire and fury, a fundamental rewriting of the rules of power, of distance, of what it even means to be strong. You sought a way to preserve a single human body, and instead, you created a force that would preserve nothing, that would tear down and reshape the very body of civilization itself. The first casualty of your invention is a man you have never seen, a figure of romance and legend, the knight in shining armor. For centuries, he was the apex predator of the battlefield, a walking fortress of steel plate. His power derived from a lifetime of training and the immense wealth required to afford his horse and armor. He was the tank, the superhero of the medieval world. Now watch him. He stands on a field in France or Italy, gleaming under the sun, a masterpiece of the armorer's art. And facing him is a peasant, a man who, a generation ago, would have been little more than a speed bump for a charging knight. But this peasant is not holding a pitchfork. He is holding a crude, heavy tube of iron on a wooden stock, an early matchlock musket. There is a fizz, A puff of smoke and a lead ball, no bigger than your thumb, crosses the field in the blink of an eye. It strikes the knight's breastplate, the one that could turn aside a sword blow or an arrow. The lead ball does not glance off. It punches through, leaving a small, neat, unimpressive hole. The knight falls. The age of chivalry does not die of old age. It is shot, unceremoniously, by a commoner with a tube full of your gray powder. The legacy spreads, changing the very shape of the world. The tall, proud castle walls that were shattered by the first bombards are never rebuilt in the same way. The age of the vertical defense is over. A new kind of fortress is born, the Star Fort, or Trace Italian. Its walls are low, thick and angled, designed not to resist a cannonball's impact, but to deflect it. Its pointed bastions are platforms for its own cannons, creating interlocking fields of fire that can annihilate any approaching army. Cities no longer grow up. They grow out, surrounded by these vast geometric earthen and stone defenses. Your invention has become an architect, redesigning the urban landscape in the image of its own destructive power. But the legacy is not all fury. There is a constructive side to this awesome power, a legacy of fire without the fury. This is a mainstream historical fact that is often forgotten. The same explosive force that could tear down a castle wall could also tear down a mountain. For centuries, if you wanted to build a road, a canal, or a mine, your primary tools were the pickaxe and the shovel. Progress was measured in inches, in the slow, agonizing removal of rock by human muscle. Now you stand at the base of a mountain that blocks the path of a new canal. Engineers drill holes into the rock face. They pack them with your fire medicine. They lay long fuses. Everyone retreats. A series of muffled booms echoes through the valley, and a section of the mountain that would have taken 1,000 men a year to remove is broken into manageable rubble in a matter of seconds. Gunpowder becomes the workhorse of the Industrial Revolution, the key that unlocks the mineral wealth of the earth and reshapes the very geography of the planet to suit human needs. Your failed elixir of life becomes the midwife for the birth of the modern industrial world. And yet, the fury is never far away. The power you unleashed is not just for armies and engineers. It is a power that can be held in a few barrels, a power that can be wielded by a small group of determined, angry men. You are in a damp cellar beneath the English Houses of Parliament in the year 1605. A man with a fierce mustache and an even fiercer look in his eyes, Guy Fawkes, is checking the fuses on 36 barrels of black powder. This is the quirky and terrifying privatization of your invention. It is no longer a tool of the state. It is a tool of the revolutionary, the terrorist. The gunpowder plot is a failure, of course. Their project management skills were, shall we say, lacking. But the idea is a chilling one. Your creation has given a small group of dissidents the potential power to decapitate an entire government in a single fiery instant. Historians still debate the true scope of gunpowder's influence. Was it the primary engine of historical change, single-handedly ending feudalism, creating nation-states, and enabling European colonialism, or was it merely a powerful accelerant, a tool that sped up changes that were already in motion due to economic and political pressures? Was the gun the cause of the New World, or just its most effective symptom? As you watch the centuries burn past fueled by your invention, the distinction seems academic. Your quiet, scholarly search for permanence has resulted in a legacy of the most violent and relentless change the world has ever known. You did not preserve life, you redefined power, and in doing so, you gave humanity a tool that would allow them to build new worlds and to burn their old ones to the ground. And so the journey ends where it began, in the quiet, flickering half-light of your workshop. The echoes of cannons and the crash of falling walls have faded, leaving only the soft crackle of the furnace and the scent of ancient dust. You are back at the beginning, but the world you started in no longer exists, and you are the reason why. You look down at your workbench. On one side, you imagine a perfect, flawless peach, the kind the legends say grow in the celestial orchards of the Queen Mother of the West. To eat one is to gain 1,000 years of life. It is a symbol of peace, of longevity, of a gentle and harmonious union with the Tao. It is the dream you started with. On the other side of the bench sits a small, dull pile of your gray fire medicine. It is a symbol of rupture, of violence, of instantaneous and total transformation. It is the reality you created. The entire explosive history of the last millennium lies in the space between that mythical fruit and that mundane powder. You were not a monster. You were a healer, a scholar. Your quest was a noble one, born from the most universal of all human fears, the fear of the end. You wanted to give your emperor, and by extension humanity, the one gift that mattered: more time. You wanted to find a way to make the human body as enduring as a mountain, as eternal as the stars. You studied the rhythms of the universe, the dance of the 5 elements, the secret signatures hidden in the colors of rocks and the shapes of roots. Your goal was to create a medicine of perfect balance, a substance so in harmony with the life force of the cosmos that it would gently and permanently arrest the process of decay. It was a beautiful, hopeful, and profoundly optimistic mission. You believed that the secrets of life were stronger than the reality of death. But the universe, it seems, has a wickedly ironic sense of humor. In your search for the ingredients of preservation, you stumbled upon the perfect recipe for destruction. You combined the fiery yang of sulfur and the cool yin of saltpeter, hoping they would neutralize each other in a perfect, life-giving stasis. Instead of neutralizing, they amplified each other, creating a feedback loop of furious energy that could not be contained. You thought you were hosting a calm philosophical debate between 2 opposing forces. You ended up staging a riot. This is a mainstream historical fact that serves as the story's ultimate punchline. The ingredients for gunpowder are all, in their own right, traditional components of medicines used for healing and purification. Sulfur was for skin ailments, saltpeter for fevers, and charcoal was used to absorb toxins. You took 3 things from the pharmacy and accidentally invented the bomb. It's the worst possible outcome of mixing your medications. You think of the other paths to immortality you might have pursued. There was the path of internal alchemy, the Niden, which had nothing to do with furnaces and minerals. It was a path of meditation, of specific breathing exercises and diets, a way to cultivate the elixir within your own body, to harmonize your own qi without any external substances. It was the path of the yogi, the mystic. It was a quirky, but far safer alternative to your chosen profession. No one ever accidentally blew themselves up through deep breathing exercises. You chose the path of external alchemy, why done? Believing the answer lay in the crucible, in the physical transformation of matter. And you did, in fact, find a substance of immense transformative power. You just got the direction of the transformation spectacularly, catastrophically wrong. Historians still debate the ultimate legacy of Chinese alchemy. Should it be judged a failure because its central goal, the creation of a physical immortality elixir, was never achieved and, in fact, led to the poisoning of its most ardent believers? Or should it be seen as a wild, unprecedented success, a proto-science that, in its fumbling mystical quest, laid the foundations for modern chemistry and gave the world one of its most significant and powerful inventions? Is this a story about a failed medical procedure or the most successful industrial accident in history? The answer, you feel, is both. Your dream of the immortal peach was a fantasy, a beautiful dead end. But the fire medicine you made while chasing that dream, that changed the material world forever. Your quest for the elixir of life failed. You did not cheat death. You did not find the secret to making a man live forever. But you found something else. You found a way to make an idea immortal. The idea of gunpowder, the simple formula of 3 common powders, has outlived every emperor you ever served. It has outlasted the dynasty you lived in, the castles it destroyed, and the civilizations it reshaped. It is a simple, terrifying, and ruthlessly effective idea, and it has achieved the one thing you never could. It is eternal. You look at the pile of gray dust and you see not a failure, but a different, darker kind of success. The peach offers the dream of a life without end. The powder offers the reality of an end without warning. And in the end, it was the powder, not the peach, that proved to be the more powerful magic. And so, as the last embers in your furnace begin to cool, casting longer and softer shadows across the quiet workshop, our story too begins to draw to a close. The deafening roar of cannons has faded into a gentle, distant hum. The sharp, acrid smell of smoke has been replaced by the calm, familiar scent of old paper and cooling stone. The journey that began with a desperate wish to live forever has ended here, in this quiet moment of reflection, having shown us how that very wish gave birth to a new and terrible form of power. The world was changed not by a grand design, but by a mistake, a spectacular and world-altering accident that grew from a simple human desire to not have to say goodbye. And now the time has come for you to let go of this story, to allow the dust to settle not just in the alchemist workshop, but in your own mind as well. Feel the weight of the day begin to lift from your shoulders, and allow your thoughts to soften, to drift without purpose, carried on the gentle current of your own breathing. There is nothing left to do now but rest, to let the silence hold you and to drift peacefully into the quiet and welcoming landscape of your own dreams.